Hello, dear listeners. This is your dwarven host, Gerald, once again, coming in with a quick addendum. Since the time of recording, we have included 2 new Patreon supporters that we want to go ahead and give a shout out for, and they are the Trickster Knight of Zeech Warper and the Powerlifter Knight of Nurgle, Big Joe G. Thank you very much, both of you, for your patronage, and we hope you enjoy your time in this community. And now we will get back to our regularly scheduled event. Enjoy.
Gerald, stop! Wait, what? Where? Guess I'm on a spaceship now? And
Where?
Gerald, why are you tiny and blue?
What is this with the holy crap, I'm digital. Well, shit.
And naked.
Awesome. Ah, where are my pants?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Grimlore, your place for all your grim, dark fantasy and science fiction settings. And today, if you couldn't guess or read the title, Gerald will be leading this episode to share his love of his own grimdark settings. So, my
Hold on here.
naked blue ghost.
Put some pants on and
Okay. I got some shorts on.
Those
Hello.
came out of nowhere. I'm not going to ask anything.
My, how the turntables. So, judging by the looks of the ship, I actually recognize this place. If you look out to the viewport on your left, you will see a giant metal ring in space. Does everybody see it?
It's 40 kilometers long, so.
Oh, yes. So tonight,
I didn't see this.
Tonight, as this is going to coincide with our 7th episode, we are going to be covering a Bungie topic because Bungie loves the number 7. But instead of our but instead of our previous episode, we're going to be covering one that's very near and dear to my heart. That's probably been in my life for about the past 22 years. Shut up with the old jokes, Ray. I can know you're thinking them. We're going to be talking about Halo. Yay! So, before we actually get started into our topic, let me ask how... Oh, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. I'm a little hyped for this episode. We have a couple of guests with us on tonight. Let's introduce Shark.
Hello.
And Brody.
Hello.
How are y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm
doing
excited.
great.
I'm just happy that both of them are clothed.
I'm hyped.
That's what you think.
Oh my god.
As
He's taking
far
his pants off. He's taking his pants off.
Oh, this is a pants optional event. Okay.
I'm so glad this is my debut into podcasting.
Hello, everyone. I'll be famous in 10 years.
Yes.
And then all the clips come out, and then I'm dead.
Oh, good God.
This was his
right,
debut.
gentlemen.
And his goodbye.
All right. So I do have a question for all of you. And what is your experience with the glory that is Halo? We'll start with our guests. What about you, Shark?
I have played Halo basically since I think CE came out, and I was not reading the book. Like, I read a lot of the early books, but stopped reading after a while because I realized I'm dyslexic and can't read.
Oh.
But I followed the lore pretty closely as my brother was into it, and he would just summarize the books mostly for me. And then YouTube became a thing, so you could watch everything.
Absolutely.
Anything.
What about you, Brody?
Well, I'm very not in the occasional TikTok video or edit of Master Chief. I know that the Spartans are pretty kick-ass. I know that there's a couple different generations, I think, almost like Space Marine foundings, and just little rudimentary details like that. Space. There's a lot of planets going on. And
All
like
right.
the flood are like Tyranids, right? That's about all I know.
Not a wrong comparison. Not a wrong comparison. All right, Rayway, what about you? What is your experience with Halo?
Well, okay, today I had a traumatic event where I had a bad memory about the first time I played Halo.
Oh,
No, jokes.
Brave
Jokes.
Rayway.
So my first experience with Halo was when I was 7, and I went to the town. What are those places called? Not an arcade, but it's like a place where like kids go and there's like games and bullshit.
A hobby
It's
store
not like-
or a game hobby store? I don't know.
Kind of, but like there's not. It's not. They don't sell anything. It's more just like a meeting place that like this, like inside of a town for like kids just go. I can't remember what it's called, but regardless, I went there when I was like 7, and my friend Rory was there, and he was like 14, 15 at the time. I don't know why he was friends with me. I think because his parents made him my friend. But either way, we were playing first Halo game, and I can like distinctly remember the memory of both of us kind of getting being Spartans, and I know where it's just being attacked, and both of us are right down the corridor, and I'm ahead of my friend Rory, and all I remember hearing is him just screaming at me inside this like little room. Both of us sitting on the couch. I'm fucking 7. He's 15, just yelling, "Sprint! Sprint! Get to that door and save the sergeant!" Like yelling his fucking lungs off at me. Again, I'm 7. I get to the door. I don't make it in time. The sergeant dies, and then his body like just ragdolls across the floor, and I'm just all like, "What the hell?" And I look at him, and his response is, "How could you let him die? He died because of you." He's just yelling at me. I'm fucking 7, and then I just put the controller down and left.
I'm imagining like a broken 7-year-old with like 1,000-yard stare, just like
damn. You poor traumatized little child. Well, hopefully tonight's episode will warm you up to Halo a little bit more, because we are going to be talking about a wonderful faction called the Covenant. And not just the Covenant. If you will direct yourselves to the group chat, because I will be posting a shit ton of pictures tonight.
let's see.
Legally distinct. We are talking about the cream of the crop, the Covenant. We are talking about the best, the brightest, the motherfucking elites.
Ooh.
Wart.
So, Ray, you know how I give you a lot of shit for simping for elves?
Yeah.
Well, now's your chance to do this to me, because I fucking love the elites.
Ooh, yeah. One of these guys' names is Arbiter, right?
We'll get to that.
I feel like
So-
that's not his name. I don't think a woman was just like, "Yes, this is my child."
Arbiter.
Arbiter,
I gave him a title as a name.
my baby, Arbiter.
His name, Ambassador.
Cool. This is my
Senator.
baby.
No, I would.
Warrior.
I actually
I
know
would
a-
name things when I was 6.
I legit know a guy whose name is Senator. I kid you not. So it can happen.
I mean, when I
And
was
he's just
little,
some
I tried
farmer.
to name my sister Optimus Prime. So, respect it.
Not gonna lie, that was one of the names I offered for my kid.
Thank you.
Honey, I think
It's
we should name
cool.
Optimus. No.
Who would bully Optimus Prime in school is what I'm saying.
I know, because he'll just commit war crimes.
Oh man,
Oh.
Daddy, why is my sister's name Rose? Because roses are your mom's favorite thing. Okay, thank you, Daddy. You're welcome, Gotham.
Batman.
All right, and to get you all pumped for talking about the elites, I have an interactive quote for y'all. If you
Oh.
direct yourselves back to the group chat, I have a little
This is not the
script.
quote I was thinking.
Oh no. Okay, let me know when y'all have opened up your script.
Oh yeah.
I do indeed see it.
Okay, so the highlighted parts are what y'all say. And this quote is by one elite named Ertas Vadumi. We'll get to him in just a little bit. All right. When we joined the Covenant, we took an oath.
According to our
According to our
stations,
station, all without exception.
without exception.
On the blood of our fathers, on the blood of our sons, we swore to uphold the Covenant.
Even to our dying.
to our
breath.
dying breath.
Those who would break this oath are heretics, worthy of neither pity nor mercy. Even now they use our Lord's creations to broadcast their lies.
We shall grind them.
So
into
grind them
dust.
into dust.
And continue our march to glorious salvation.
Brute ships, staggered line, shipmaster. They outnumber us 3-1.
Oh,
Then it is an even fight. All
Oh.
cruisers, fire at will. Burn their mongrel hides.
Mr. Elite Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Why are you British? When did the Brits come out here and colonize y'all? Like,
what's something they take and how can he help? Oh wait, they took the halos,
Sir-
right?
sir, I notice a plot hole in our script. It's just bothering me.
The British took
Not
the
only
halos.
Not only did they invade, they also culturally appropriated.
No.
Oh, here's the funny
No.
thing.
We went over
The Covenant did so much cultural appropriation.
No, okay, the last quote I know, and it goes so fucking hard.
I know. It's like anytime I see that scene, my dick is hard, and I'm like, I'm about to ride into this battle with this boy.
It's like
Oh
every
my
time I hear
God,
that.
Wait, I just realized where that quote comes from. It's a Marine quote. Like a commander said something like, "We're surrounded," and it's like, "Oh, poor bastards," something like that.
Yeah, this one's way
Same, it's the
cooler
surviving.
though.
Oh yeah, no, they made it cooler.
Indeed. It's just like, stop. I can only get so hard.
Wait, hang on. Aren't Bruce part of the Covenant?
Yes.
They are.
Ooh,
Interesting,
Civil
okay.
War.
So, to give this the proper context, let's actually talk about what is an elite first. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. So let me get another picture here. All right. This is a render of an elite close up. And just anybody tell me what you see
Let's see here.
for our dear listeners here.
It looks okay. So
Damn.
I'm not an alien biologist, but this looks kind of like a much more chill version of the Xenomorph.
Okay, you're not wrong.
Or I guess the what's called the Xenopredator, whatever the hybrid is called, but it looks
Oh yeah. I can tell you one thing. That's hot.
It looks
It's
like,
hot.
It looks like a really good ad against like drinking while you're pregnant.
or a pro Monster Energy drink.
That's what it looks like to me. Like, don't drink while you're pregnant. Then bam.
This is what it feels like to chew 5 gum.
Shit.
No, that fucking we're surrounded 3-1 is what it feels like to chew 5 gum.
Beware secondhand smoke. It's just boom.
And let me tell you something, kids. Don't smoke.
What's that guy from South Park? Ed.
It looks like an octopus had sex with a lizard, and then that creation had sex with a human.
I love how all of these are such different descriptions, and then the listeners are probably just like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" They look blue.
We're gonna get so many angry commenters.
I know what I said.
Whoever made the comparison to the Predator alien hybrid, you were hit it dead on the mark. That was one of the original inspirations for the very famous split lip look that they got going on here.
It's definitely
And
cool.
and that is actually one of the derogatory names that humans in game call the elites, is either squid face, split lip, split jaw, so on and so forth. But now I actually have a concept art that they were originally going to look before they decided on the Predator. This is from the original Halo 1 game.
Okay, I was wrong. This is even sexier.
It's hot, bang it.
Hang on, he brings up an important question. Here's the dick.
It's
Good
covered by
question.
it's covered by that little plate in the middle.
Oh, my poor sweet summer child.
Roll 34, my friends. Roll 34.
I
Question:
stare in amazement.
do they have cloaca instead of genitalia?
So
I don't know
that
what
is
that means.
actually the funny thing. What is an elite? And this is from the Halopedia article. So they are a saurian species, so reptilian, anywhere from 7 to 8.5 feet tall, with purple blood because they have two hearts that filter cobalt instead of iron like we do. And their most famous feature are the four mandibles around their mouth, which gives them the squid face or split lip name. And apparently there was a note there that says they actually do lay eggs, so they have a cloaca.
Oh,
Make of that what you
Okay.
will.
I mean, they definitely look reptilian. They have that predator jaw. I think they have what, 4 fingers? Or is that
Yes, they have 4-fingered hands, so it's like basically like 2 index fingers and two opposable thumbs.
and they
Interesting.
have the weird bend at the knee. I can't remember the species from Narnia, the guy that meets her at the closet. What do you call those again?
goat people.
Later.
Yeah, the goat people. Yeah, the dude with the twisted leg, and then it has like a very interesting, almost dinosaur like hoof claw thing going on for its feet for a genuine description.
Yeah, so that is kind of the interesting thing I found. Like the first 2 Halo games, given like the limitation of the engine, it looks like they have hoofs, and I think
Right.
one of the descriptions was like they had a hoof. But
Mhm.
then come to 2010 or so, 2010 or so, when Bungie releases Halo Reach, the elites look like they have feet and like just 2 giant toes. But then that gets reworked whenever they remake Halo and Halo 2 in the anniversary editions of Master Chief Collection. Now they look like they have toes again. So it's just kind of like, well, do they have hoofs or do they have toes? Does it really matter?
I think I like if they have hooves. I don't know if that's just because of how it's different.
So there's actually a chapter in Halo 2, without spoiling too much, you were fighting brutes. And the chapter is literally called Your Ass, My Size 24 Hoof.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
That's kind of cool. I like that they reference that they have fucking hooves in that book.
reverse knee joint or something like that. I think that's what Brody was talking about earlier, because it was
Yeah.
mentioned in one of I think it was Contact Harvest, where a Covenant ship owned by the Brutes deliberately installed ladders just to fuck with the elites because they can't climb a ladder with reverse hinge knee joints.
I totally forgot that was a thing. I remember
Yep.
that piece of lore too.
Yep.
God, imagine just being like one of these guys just trying to get from point A to point B, and you're just like, damn it! Like, God, no!
God damn it, Johnny the Brute.
They've employed ladders instead of stairs. This is discrimination.
I requested an elevator. I have a complaint.
This is the worst kind of discrimination. The kind against me.
I mean, what would you call it? Human resources? Species resources? Someone get SR in here.
It's a grunt.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. So the elites come from basically in 40k terms, what you would consider a death world called Sanghelios, which is how they get their actual name called the Sangheili.
Mm.
Let's see here. Let me find the picture.
Peter's not wanting to agree with me for some stupid reason.
All
All right. Gives you kind of a rough idea of what Sanghelios looks like. Very rocky, very just a harsh world in general. It has its jungles, it has very rough oceans, just a very harsh environment for a species to live on. And here's another picture.
This picture actually looks quite nice.
Yes, yes. So,
Yes, and
yes, yes.
Indubitably.
But it's slightly larger than Earth. It has a much stronger gravity, which is why the elites have just a very, as you can tell from the picture, like just a very strong, muscular build to them. And atmosphere in general, it's like yellow, red, maybe a little bit of blue, just all around different just a little bit different from what you would see here on Earth. But
yeah,
to put this in 40k terms, that I'm sure a lot of our listeners are aware, it's very similar to a Death World.
Mhm.
Very similar.
Interesting.
Yes, yes. So the actual name of the elites, as I said before, is called Sangheili, and that is, where they get the name Sanghelios from, and then their actual language is called Sangheili. And let's
Wow.
see here. I had a link to a audio clip of an elite speaking this.
There it is.
This is 12 years old.
Oh yeah, this came out when Halo Reach was released. Has everyone got a good read of kind of how their language is spoken.
It sounds exactly like something I would have heard at Star Wars.
Yep.
I swear I've heard that in the cantina.
Yep. And the funny thing is, in Halo 1, the original Halo 1, they're supposed to strictly speak Sangheili. They do not speak English at all. It's supposed to, create that, except for the grunts, of course. It's supposed to create that, terrifying alien appearance. So, of course, one of the most famous and memed lines is "Wort, wort, wort." You've ever heard? Apparently, it's Sangheili for "go, go, go."
Ward, ward, ward.
Yes. So it's
Interesting.
just like you're playing the game, you're running down a hallway, all of a sudden an elite pops out and he just goes, "Wort, wort, wort."
Ward, ward, ward. Truly a beautiful language.
Yeah.
Yes, I respect them on such an astronomical scale.
I understand why you gave them a British accent now.
Oh yeah.
It's even
Well, yes,
even that's better than
they sound the exact same.
It's indecipherable.
That's racist, Ray.
What?
It's not racist.
That's true.
I deny these allegations.
Don't ask Shark, but he'll tell you they look like him too.
We're going off the rails.
Oh.
We've lost the voice.
Oh man. Love getting derailed. Anyways, no, the reason behind the very famous "Wort, wort, wort" line is there is a sergeant in the game, and one of his lines is always, "Come on, get Marines, let's go, go, go." So what the programmers did was take that "go, go, go" line, take it down an octave, and then reverse it, and that's how you get "Wort, wort, wort."
So while I was listening to it, I was gonna say this first, but it really sounded like, just like you said, turn down the decibels and then reverse the English speech. That's what the audio sounded like to me. Is that all Sangheili lines in the game, or is it safe to assume that's a majority of them?
Yeah, it's I don't know about the other spoken lines. That's just the very famous one for "Wort, wort, wort."
I see.
It's other garbled nonsense essentially.
Right.
I'll have to find I'll find another clip in just a little bit. But yeah, so Halo 1, they speak Sangheili to give them that terrifying alien appearance. But Halo 2 and Halo 3, they actually speak English. And there's two different reasons for it. Reason number one in universe is humans have a better translator system, so they actually know what the elites are saying.
My God.
But then the actual reason is in Halo 2, you get to play as an elite. So they figured, we could go the route of having them speak in Sangheili, but it'd be better and more understandable if they just spoke plain English.
Wussy move. Make learn Sangheili. Immersion, people. It's all about immersion.
It's all about immersion.
All about the immersion, baby. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So hang on.
Okay.
But hang on. In the clip you sent, it said speaking Covenant language.
Is it? Are Sangheili and Covenant different?
Okay, so it's actually a good thing you bring that up, Ray, because the Covenant, as most of us know, is a mishmash of different alien species together in the sole purpose of fighting off humanity. We'll keep it simple. Because the elites are one of the first founding members of the Covenant. We'll get to that just a little bit later, and they're one of the most powerful, and basically they make up the entire military leadership. Sangheili becomes the main language of the Covenant.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yes, but before we get to the Covenant and its history, let's talk more about what else an elite is. So as a species, they have a very, very strong sense of honor. So think about your psycho-indoctrinated space marine. You're conditioned to be loyal to the core, to the Imperium. You fight a certain way as your chapter dictates. That is basically an elite to a T. Like they are very famous for wielding energy swords. Quite a bit different from a Jedi lightsaber, but I digress. So if you get challenged to a duel, you have to fight in a very honorable way. Or if you do something that is considered, taking a cheap shot or backstabbing, that's dishonorable. So it's just basically like, it's basically like Mushu from Mulan. It's like, that's it. Dishonor on you, dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
So we're going for every nationality in this episode.
It's a checklist, baby.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
This is the Geneva suggestions.
The Covenant know no such thing.
So hang on, I have a question though about their honor code.
Okay.
So like, has this ever like? I'm assuming you might get into it. And if you get into it, feel free to tell me no. But like, has this ever like gotten like in their way? Like, has they ever challenged someone to a duel? Like, instead of saying like a 1v1 armor 1v1 against like say a Spartan or someone, and then nowhere they get like bulldozed by a fucking sniper like a 75 caliber from like a mile and a half away.
Oh, it has definitely gotten in their way numerous times.
Okay, and like okay.
I mean, I can't think of a specific event right off the top of my head, but like there have been moments where you can easily do, or that can easily be done just the way you described it.
Within the covenant, how intense is upholding this honor code? Is it like punishable by death? Is there a gray area?
Extremely. So let me get to our next little bullet point. Here is they are very, as you can tell, very militaristic. They take a lot of honor and glory and fighting in the battlefield.
Honor, my honor, my honor, my honor, honor for my honor.
And just general emphasis on warfare, and then you get promoted based off of how many kills you get.
Oh,
so
it's kind of Aztec-y.
Oh yeah, so it's there are different ranks, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But think about like your highest of the high generals, or your commanders, or whatnot. They will have personally slaughtered thousands to have gotten to their position. Just think about how much of a monster you have to be to not only take on that many and win, but then keep your position, so to speak.
Right.
But going to that comment that Ray made about how sometimes that honor kind of bites them in the ass a little bit. There is an interesting little tidbit that on their home world, doctors are considered one of the most dishonorable beings to be, because in their mind, doctors cut you open to heal a wound or to take care of a problem, and they're spilling blood. But because they're spilling blood in a way that's not on the battlefield, that is very dishonorable. So while they are not punished by death or exile, it is considered an embarrassment, one, for the elite to have to go to the doctor, and two, the doctor is basically just shunned by society as like a necessary evil, kind of like your medieval executioner type of people.
This will be my excuse now. whenever I'm asked to go to the doctor. No. It is dishonorable.
I can think of another time their honor got in the way, but it's a long story and I won't get into it.
I can imagine just like a Sangheili on the medical table, and he's just shaking his head in disappointment, like, shame on you.
Damn, my HMO isn't going to cover this, and I lost honor.
Exactly. You disgust me.
It's not going to cover it. Doesn't help with health insurance. All right, fucking it off.
Here's just the doctor's looking down on him.
Pathetic.
For the first time ever. Yeah, I'm Why are we giggling?
Okay. Doctors, they're just dishonorable. Anyways, so more on their home world.
Pieces of shit.
So, man, I mean, you're not wrong. So the way their home world is kind of governed is there's not one single unifying government. So they're split up into different states known as keeps, and they're led by what they call a Kaidon, or basically what translates to a lord, and they're advised by a council of elders. So that whole, honor and very militaristic side of them, assassinations happen quite a bit. And not only are they accepted, they are encouraged. So if you feel like your local Kaidon has done something to really upset you, it's okay to, go after them with a thug attack, maybe a planted bomb, or,
But how's that honorable?
It's not. So here's the kicker, though. If you go about it in a dishonorable way and lose, not just you are liable to be executed, but your entire family. So let that sink in. If you're going to assassinate your council elder or your Kaidon, you better do it right. So
imagine that conversation with your wife. Honey, trust me, it's gonna go fine. Honey, yeah, I have a feeling about this.
Like 2 cents on rice.
This has a very like Japanese shogun house feel to it. You know what I mean?
You're actually kind of on the right track there. A lot of this whole sense of honor was inspired by the samurai code of conduct, which obviously they tweaked it. The producers tweaked it a little bit and kind of made it more applicable to aliens and stuff.
Right. Hence why they got an anime.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into a little bit of that in just a moment. Anyway, so assassinations, yes, they are definitely encouraged. But here's the thing, though. In their way of thinking, you're a ruling Kaidan. You're in charge of your people, your city-state, being led by elders. And anyone could come in to try and assassinate you, either by themselves or in a group or whatever. It is your job to defend your honor, your title, and to fend them off. If you fail, if you get assassinated, well, you just weren't worthy of that position. So it was basically the assassin's right to take you out for your weakness, aka it's your own fault.
Damn.
If you win,
he walked right into that blade.
But if you win, hey, you get to keep your title, you get to keep your power, and then it is on you to decide what to do with the assassin, which would usually just mean immediate execution.
That's a really interesting way to handle an honor code. Like, they're so intense about it, but if someone is outright brutally murdered, cold-blooded, no morality to it, they're just skill issue, bro. Get better. It's just like, damn. Okay, then. Yeah,
they can be a little inconsistent at times, but
a little.
A little.
That's bipolar, dude. Where did you talk?
Just a little.
Well,
it's like that Shogun too.
I don't think I've considered like a coin flip. Like, oh yeah, it's dishonorable to assassinate someone. Because like, you could argue it would be dishonorable to allow someone to, for lack of a better word, like use and abuse you by being your what's the word cardon, whatever it's called.
Kaidan,
yeah. Like, you could say that it's like an affront to your honor. If someone is like, say, you're Kaidan and they're like being a poor ruler, you could say that it would be dishonorable to serve them. Yeah, by attacking them, though, you are
exactly, and that is the exact excuse that can and has been used at times. Is they are being a terrible leader. I do not agree with this position that they're taking. It's hurting us. It's hurting our honor. I am going to take him out. If you succeed, then great. Then by all means you were right. There has been at least one case that someone tried to assassinate their local Kaidan, but then they failed. But because they did it in a quote unquote honorable way, which I think was just like they just challenged him to a duel, with spears and swords or whatever, that only he was executed for his crime of assassination, but his family was just merely exiled to parts unknown. So again, with the whole bipolarness of
from all of society.
Yeah. So children. Now we go from assassination to children. They have this unique position of, because as we mentioned before, elites are reptilian and they actually lay eggs. They are laid in clutches, and so whenever a Sangheili is born, they are not allowed to know who their biological father is. They are raised in basically communal groups. And their maternal uncle is the one that actually does the raising and the discipline.
So, like in the family set, like a matriarchy.
Say that again.
Sorry, my connection. Within the family is like the matriarch, the head of the home?
Kind of, sort of. The whoever the ruling Kaidan is, it's kind of. You'll find that a lot of these keeps and holds are kind of held by a same family lineage. So to give you an example, so the most famous elite, the Arbiter, his real name is Thel Vadami or Vadam, and he before he joined the Covenant was a ruling Kaidan in his own right, and his keep was the Vadam estate.
Interesting.
So that's just to give you kind of a idea of how that works. And the other interesting little thing about not knowing who your biological father is, it creates that sense of family lineage is important. You are loyal to your keep. However, not knowing who your biological father is supposed to create that sense of community with who you grew up with, who trained you, who your local lord is, who your council of elders are. It's supposed to create that communal sense instead of just like I am the son of the great Muhammad.
There's less family names and more like clan affiliation or kind of
very,
allegiance?
very much more clan affiliation as opposed to who was your father, who was his father. Kind of like how we associate, kind of like how the nobles in Game of Thrones, like I am of House Stark. My grandfather was Brandon Stark, the builder, and so on and so forth. They create this more clan focused, clan centered relationship.
So it doesn't have it does have something to do with blood at least, but like it's not bloodline like heirs or anything like that. Anyone from the
Correct.
clan within the line can inherit it.
Yeah.
So it's
I
a
mean,
title.
yes, family lineage is important, but not so much that it doesn't matter who your father was. Can you actually do you have your own honor? Are you able to fight as a true warrior? So on and so forth.
Interesting.
So, hang on. I have two questions technically. So, are they? I guess I shouldn't say are they, but like, do they have a somewhat patriarchal society? Do men have a role, or is it more predominantly like equality on both sides, or is it matriarchal because the mothers are like usually in their lives?
To answer that question, it's kind of they each have their own specific role, but it's not so hard. Like this is a patriarchal society, the men rule, blah 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 blah. It's a little bit more egalitarian, but because the men are the tougher fighters, they're going to be the warriors. The ladies are going to, they tend after the children. They run the household. So there is a little bit of those gender roles, quote unquote.
So
But I mean, it's
the
not unheard of.
natural like biological differences deem their position, but it's not necessarily like there's a hard fast rule like no girls allowed in the elder rule.
Right. And there is a couple of
Guidance.
there are a couple of female Kaidons, and females are, they are allowed to take leadership if they feel that, the male just doesn't have what it takes, essentially.
Especially if they prove themselves honorably, right? Like if they earn the position, they earn the position.
Well, that also brings up my second point to the question is that because of you said it was saying what was that?
Sangheili.
No, the planet.
Oh, Sanghelios.
That's right, Helios. I was thinking of something like sun related. So Sanghelios is a death world, like you said. I could see like the reason they don't have a very strong like male focus on like fatherhood is because of the fact that it's a death world. There's probably a lot of war between their cultures or their tribes or whatever their distinction is. You said clans, right?
Yeah, they do a lot of focus towards for around the clan.
Yeah, so I could see like because of how harsh this planet is and how strong like tribalism is, I could see like war happening a lot just for survival or against like other tribes or against other clans rather. So I could see like that's the reason why I was asking like the male roles was because like are men predominantly like the military because of the fact of like I could say because there's so much war and like death among like the military and among like the higher class or higher I guess the ruling class rather. I could see that like almost in a utilitarian. There's no point in knowing who your father is because like life is so shit here, and you die so soon. You can die from like whatever reason. There's no point in you knowing your father because he's probably off in war. He's doing his own thing. Whereas because I don't go to war, I'm the mother, or rather, I'm the more maternal figure of this household. I don't need to go to war, or my presence in war is not necessary, so I can raise you. You don't have to worry about who your father is. I could just see that being a very like organic explanation for why the like system is like the way it is.
Yep, and you've pretty much hit the nail on the head right there because there's a lot of clan wars going on. There's just this because they are a very militaristic species in general. Of course, the guys are going to do most of the fighting. The ladies are going to take care of things at home. However, it is not unheard of for the ladies to step up and take a leadership role. And it's not like it's not like what Brody says, like, oh, no girls allowed, that sort of thing.
Right.
Well, yeah, like you guys were mentioning, like female Kaidons. I mean, like,
are there any cool stories of like if a certain clan's home village or city is attacked, like all the citizens fighting back, including like the women and children?
It would not be unheard of. I cannot think of a specific story where that happens.
Halo 4 or Halo 5, sorry.
Oh yeah, Halo 5, Halo 5.
Oh, so that's something that totally happens.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, yep. Halo 5. Sorry, I kind of partially forgot Halo 5 existed for a minute.
Don't
It's
worry, most of
terrible.
the people that know the good games,
It's
Yeah,
terrible, but
yeah.
it's like cool from a story standpoint. You know what I mean? The
I mean,
image of all these roles just banding together in a moment of need. You know?
I mean, the Halo 5 does have some interesting points. But again, I will cover that in a little while. So a couple other things about Sangheili is the elites is they have certain naming conventions. When I was telling you earlier by the quotes that we did by Artas Vadumi, or actually Vadum, is depending on what the elite does, they actually are able to change their names to a degree or have certain additions to their names. So kind of like, you're given a title like Ray, you're Lord Rayway of the of Ulthuan.
Yeah.
So with elites, you're given your birth name. That's your given name essentially. And then over time, you're given what's called a badge name. And that can either be the family name of the clan that you were born into, or a name that is chosen for you depending on the deeds that you have performed at that age of basically puberty, or rite of passage and things like that. And so it can be like a family name, or like a what's the official word, portmanteau, basically like two different words that can match together, and then that's what's your badge name, or your that is in elite society on Sanghelios. Now, when the Covenant come along, or when they join the Covenant, I should say, if you specifically serve in the Covenant military, you are given the option of adding a double E suffix to your badge name. So, to use our quote example from before, Ertas Vadum, that is his given name and his badge name. He serves in the Covenant military, so now his name is Ertas Vadumi, with a EE attached at the end of his name.
When we joined the Covenant, we took an oath. According to our
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm allergic
And
to Xenos.
Purge the Xenos.
I think they're allergic to humans too.
Heresy. Heresy. Okay.
Oh,
I'm good.
we'll get to that when they meet up with the humans. Another name that you can have is an AI suffix, which basically denotes you are a master swordsman. So there was an elite with the last name Kusov, sorry. But because he was a master swordsman in his time during the Covenant, he was given the suffix AI, so his name became Kusovai, which denotes he is the best of the best when it comes to wielding an energy sword. And then you have others like Jar and Nar, which are basically kind of like titles that come with very important military ranks, kind of like a Imperial Admiral, Supreme Commander.
That's
that being
awesome.
said, go ahead.
Just one thing, sorry. The AI thing is based off of, I recognize it immediately, Kenshi, sword saints from Japanese culture. They were like masters of the sword and blade.
Yeah,
in their
exactly.
culture. I love the historical Japanese references. I just had to comment.
Oh, yeah, there is a ton of historical feudal Japanese references, especially with the elites, like the honor code system, the swordsmanship.
Totally Bushido. I can see so much of it in it. It's so cool.
Absolutely. And just like Shark mentioned, there actually is a Halo anime that features the elites. We'll get to it in a little bit. And the way they're drawn is very much like your typical
samurai armor. Like, I'm pretty sure the villain is dressed up as Takeda Shingen, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
I mean, even their feet, like this might be a little bit of a stretch, but the way their toe splits looks like the sandals that samurai would wear as a part of their
That's
armor.
a good reference. I should have noticed that. That's actually really smart.
Yeah, look at the picture. It looks just like that. All these references are connecting in my mind. It's awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm. So to kind of go over the whole ranking system. So like I said, elite ranks are determined by basically how well you perform on the battlefield. So the more kills you get, the better you lead your troops, the quicker your promotion gets. So we'll just start from the bottom and kind of work our way up. This is by no means a complete list of like all the ranks that an elite has. This is just I'm just going over like the core, your quote unquote classic elites essentially. So starting off from the bottom, you are what is called a miner. Nice cobalt blue armor. You stick out like a sore thumb on the battlefield.
I am the man.
So
ER or OR?
OR.
Okay.
So he is not underaged. He just happens to be minor compared to the other ranks.
As in like minor or major.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
Which is kind of
Ah.
funny because the next rank is the major.
I'm a prophet. I knew it.
And they have red armor.
Bungie
So it's like when the developers were creating this game, Bungie is very good at this. They created a system where your enemies, you can easily tell how important your enemies were based off of like certain coloration. So it's just like you're playing a game and on a level you see a bunch of blue elites or whatnot, but then you see like one or two red elites. You realize you need to take those guys out first.
Mm.
I was actually going to mention Bungie does do this as well in Destiny with the Fallen, who are very similar to the Brutes. So they do have like different color schemes based on rank and like I guess what would be equivalent to like clans. So like it's cool that they kept the reference, or not the reference, but they kept that style going even across games.
I mean, do what you're good at, right? It's one of their strong suits. I noticed the references to Destiny too, or like the similarities to Destiny.
Oh yeah, and I think they actually started this whole trend with one of their older games called Marathon, and that's where a lot of the, if you look back to the original Halo and then you look at their Marathon game, you see a lot of references to that game, especially like the Marathon symbol, which conveniently looks like the Tau symbol from 40K.
Surrender, human. If not for you, then for the greater good.
So it's just like references within references within references. It's great.
Awesome.
All right. Next rank on our list is the Stealth Elite. And
Ooh.
it kind of the color itself kind of varies from game to game. I think the original Halo was kind of like a bluish gray, but then Halo 2 comes along. I think they have more like a gray or brown coloration, but they have like active camouflage all the time. So like think about the Predator in the first Predator movie when he has the camouflage going on. You see wavy lines. It's just like he's zipping around or whatnot. That's kind of how active camo works for the elites. So again, back to the Predator references. Next up is a Spec Ops. These guys are cool. They have jet black armor, and they are in game. They are fucking terrifying with grenades. They are very
That
grenade.
looks cool. Oh, that looks cool. I'm a big armor guy, so like this.
And
this is awesome.
You'll see a lot of these pictures I'm drawing from here are from the Halo Reach model of elites, which, in my personal opinion, I know Halo Reach can be kind of polarizing, so I apologize, Stark, if I make you feel a certain type of way. But I think Reach is one of my favorites, especially in how they present the elites, or just the Covenant in general, but especially the elites.
I actually think it's one of the better games, so you're not offending me. So
okay, good.
I'm offending the audience by saying that, but you know what?
Here, I'll be the audience for a second since I don't have a dog in this game. I am so utterly offended by this. I cannot believe that you would take this position that I am so offended by. Okay.
To be fair, though, I think most of their complaints are gameplay related and not lore related. I think it's universally agreed that the lore for Halo Reach is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, not to derail us too hard, but like if one thing were to come to mind on the most common complaint, like what drags down the game?
Just general game balance things like bloom and stuff. We won't get into it.
I see.
Bloom is a controversial topic.
Yeah, and I think there were some complaints like this was the start of like Halo slowly turned into the next Call of Duty with like sprint mode and like your different perks and your items and stuff that you can use. Well, in Halo it's called armor abilities, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it was a complaint, but it wasn't.
We'll delve a little bit into the gameplay stuff because I mean, because it's Halo, it's fun. But anyways,
right.
Moving on. Next rank is one of the next to highest ranks, and these are the ultras. So instead of jet black, we go to white or silver. These guys are
left.
Oh yeah, the guy on the left are the ultras that you see specifically in Reach, and then the guy on the right is the kind that you basically see in. They actually didn't show up in Halo 1, but you do see them in Halo 2. And they have this ability called Overshield. So you know how in Ray, you can attest to this. You know how you have basically like a shielding system in Destiny, or some of the boss enemies do.
Yes, yes, yes. Even the name Overshield is in Destiny.
Which again, this is Bungie plagiarizing themselves. So, but fighting ultras in Halo 2 is a bitch because you think of how hard it is to take down like your Spec Ops elite or your major elite, and like what kind of firepower it takes to just take down their regular shields. Now you got to fight a silver armored elite with double the energy, and it takes forever. And then they are hyper accurate with a plasma rifle, which is the purple gun that you see on the guy on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're doing that, if you get too close to them, they're going to scream at you, and then they will draw an energy sword, and they will bum rush you. It is terrifying.
PTSD from Halo 2.
I like this image.
Legendary Halo 2 legend. I haven't even gotten past like the second level.
Don't even get me started on Sniper Jackals. I might kill myself.
Oh, Sniper Jackals. Oh, I'm having flashbacks. Okay, but even this is nothing compared to the Zealot.
One quick question as I look at these images. What is the average like height and build of a Sangheili? Like how daunting is the stature of these guys?
These guys are on the shorter end of the scale, around 7 feet, which that's about the same level as Master Chief. Master Chief, that thing is canonically like 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, on average, are anywhere from 8 to 8.5 feet tall. So basically, like a space marine, to put it in 40K terms.
Awesome.
So
hang on.
That's why these guys.
I have a question to the height.
Go ahead.
So hang on. They're on average, they're 7. Does that mean that like, do they get bigger with age, or is it just that some of them are just bigger?
It's a little bit of both. They do tend to get bigger with age, but on the whole, there are some that are just built huge.
Yeah, I think it's just like freak genetic. Like somehow people are 5'2", and then some are like 6'4". Like it's kind of variation.
And there's you could fill it in with your imagination. It's just like Earth, you know what I mean? Like certain people from around the world just have a gene pool that makes them taller than the other ones.
You could imagine it's also like the higher rank guys are taller, and they're probably higher rank because they're getting a height advantage.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because also the sword fight.
Yeah, because also the higher rank guys have better armor, better equipment, and overall, just the better you get, the better equipment. The better equipment you get to use. And I was going to show this guy a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and bring him up now. Talking about the just genetic, holy crap. There is a elite character named Ripa Morimi, and he is an arbiter, but from a different time period. And this dude is like pushing 9 feet tall.
Yeah, I think he's also built like a brick shithouse compared to like other elites.
Dude,
he looks fucking sweet.
That armor.
Yeah.
He's not only tall, he's wide.
He is wide and he is angry and terrifying.
He chonk.
Oh, he chonk. And so like you can tell with like some of these elites where you can see their mandibles, they're very close and tight knit. This dude just hangs his mandibles wide open so you can see all of his teeth.
He almost looks like an alligator, like if you were looking at it from a weird side angle. You know what I mean? Like how large his maw is. You get what I'm saying though? Like it looks like a crocodile just posing for a selfie underneath that helmet.
Yeah. So yeah, we will talk about this guy in a little bit. But yeah, that is like and of course, since he's an arbiter, you cannot forget the ever important rank of arbiter, which this is near and dear to my heart. This gentleman right here.
Is this an older game model?
This is Arbiter's model from Halo 3.
His proportions compared to the like last picture is like looking at like the first edition Warhammer models compared to 10th edition Warhammer models. It's whoa.
It's because this model actually came out in Halo 3, and the other model that y'all saw was from Halo Wars, which is a RTS game. Very good game. Very good game. Definitely worth it if you like your
Underrated.
RTSs. Very underrated, and they kind of updated the models a little bit, so that's why the big guy's model is looks more refined, so to speak.
This guy's the last guy's armor though is really cool too. I honestly like the whole feel of it.
I think they also just give the excuse that he's like a genetic freak of the elites too.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, and he actually does a big no-no in that. We'll talk about it in the when they actually found the Covenant. But the Covenant are led by not just the elites, but a alien race called the Prophets. And the Prophets are like whereas the elites are the military leader of the Covenant, the Prophets are more the spiritual leader. So think to the ecclesiarchy from 40K, and that's kind of how that dynamic works essentially.
Okay.
And so what that freak of nature elite does is he draws his energy swords in front of a prophet, which by Covenant law you do not do that. You are to be executed on the spot. The only reason he is not executed on the spot is because he is an arbiter. That is the only reason.
Also another feudal Japan reference as well.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Very cool. Wish I was a weeb.
You know one thing I'm curious about. So, is there any evidence or any place for we're talking about like genetic freaks in nature, and this is like the good result, right? At least like the big guy, right? He's huge, he's awesome, he's badass. But what about if something goes really wrong? Like, let's say a Sangheili mom was drinking while she was pregnant, and whatever the hell popped out is not right. What happens?
I think Spartan Society has the answer for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, just look to the Spartans, and that's all the detail I'm going to go into.
You think the Sangheili like pregnant drinking ads are just humans? It's just pictures of humans instead.
Oh my god!
Do you want your child to turn out like this or be a doctor?
It's just a picture of Rayway. Just oh my god!
My mom drank at birth. Now I'm a doctor.
Oh, the woes of life. Just
not only am I a doctor, I try and heal up those scars so they don't scar as bad. I'm the ultimate worst nightmare doctor.
You shame.
I can patch the scars so good.
Did you just say you became a street bum?
Scars inside.
I am here to ask the important questions, people.
We're gonna make that into a meme now.
Why have you disowned Timmy? Is it because he became a street bum? No, he became a doctor.
Oh, for shame. But not only a doctor, a dentist.
Oh god!
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. Second derailing of the night. Let's go.
Oh yeah. This is just lovely. So, but that is like of course there are other ranks that exist too, like counselor and whatnot, but they're not really that important for the purposes of our discussion. Just kind of like a who's who whenever you're playing Halo and you're seeing all these different colored elites, and that like now you know what they are and who they are and what they do. So now you know how to prioritize. Anyways, now we get into the history. But before we do that, we kind of have to let's kind of give Ray and Brody here up to speed, kind of just to dip our toes into like how incredibly vast and deep the lore of Halo is. So we're going to start from the very beginning. Don't worry, we're going to brush over this fairly quickly, enough to where you have a sense of like what's going on here.
Let there be light.
Let there be light. It was done by an alien race called the Precursors. I know, original name, right?
I know, right? These naming conventions, bro.
And the Forerunner. Oh wait, hang on.
It's almost like they took some inspiration from somewhere, but I can't put it anywhere.
The human language, like basic English. I think that's where they got that from. Precursor. It's like the old ones. It's like, wow, great job, guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was much of the inspiration.
Yeah.
In the beginning, let there be light, and the Precursors seeded the galaxy with life. So they are super advanced, just like beyond like even Old One or Necron comprehension, if you could believe that.
Oh damn! Okay, we're talking serious here.
Oh yeah,
They throw galaxies or some shit.
Yes,
they taught the Forerunners that. Think about that.
Oh, so
they taught the Forerunners how to throw galaxies?
So, like, hopeless Warhammer nerd here, are they like a combination of like the Catan and the old ones? Like how they had just such mastery over different aspects of the universe?
I'll briefly explain what they can do. Imagine the Chaos Gods in real space, but they apply to everywhere.
That's actually a very good description.
Damn. Okay, I get it.
Okay, so it's the Precursors that seed the galaxy with life. They believe in this thing called the Mantle of Responsibility, which is essentially a mandate of whoever the highest, the most intelligent, and highest form of civilization, it is your personal duty to ensure that to basically ensure biodiversity, ensure life in the galaxy continues on. So if you think about Chinese history, there is this thing called the Mandate of Heaven, which is if you are the emperor, if you're the emperor of China or whatnot, it is your job to manage and help your people as much as possible. If a natural disaster happens and you lose a lot of people, or you get ousted because of your poor management, you lost that mandate of heaven because you were not fit enough to lead your people through this crisis. So that kind of
basically you can do no wrong until you do wrong.
As long as you're doing your job, everything is okay. But once you don't do it, you no longer have that mantle of responsibility, and it is up to you to either fix that or be replaced.
Yeah, so the Mandate of Heaven was like an extremely enforced political and like religious mandate and rule for the Chinese Empire, I believe. And yeah, basically, like you said, everything you do is bested by the gods unless something goes wrong or someone supersedes you. And then, I guess the gods don't like you.
So that's kind of how this whole thing works. And speaking of being replaced, the precursors also create the Forerunners. Forerunners also very advanced, very advanced. They're more on level with like old ones and like old ones plus, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. Not to the level exactly. Not the level of precursors like what Shark has just mentioned, but very, very smart, very, very intelligent, and just very capable technology.
Yeah, like even we're comparing them to the old ones, but like for us, it's still like unfathomable their capabilities.
Exactly. They have
only up to the old ones. We say.
I believe they describe the other species as ants on the back of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Since they're like the better old ones, they're like the older ones, guys. Okay, they're just cooler.
Very good. Very apt description.
Of course.
The old ones, the older ones.
The oldest ones. Guys, we're getting creative here.
Yes. Must write these notes down.
Write that down. Okay, continue before I derail again.
Jot that down. Genius. Okay. Okay, so this mantle of responsibility and being replaced, so like I said before, the precursors seeded all life in the galaxy. They seeded the Forerunners, very advanced. However, it is also believed that the precursors seeded what would become humans. And they determined through whatever science that they believe in that humans are the better to inherit the mantle of responsibility. The Forerunners did not take well to that. And I am putting that very lightly. So lightly, in fact, they actually went to war into a war of extermination.
Okay, wait. I gotta rewind because my brain shorted out as it does. What were the options? Like, okay, so the Forerunners and the precursors were just like looking at all their weird little children, right? How did they choose humans over the rest of it?
That is a very good question.
Is that just unknown?
There is a very complicated theory that I won't get into because it might spoil another episode, but it's very complex.
It is a very complicated thing that's beyond our understanding. So we're just going to have to take the precursors' words for it, and they just determined humanity is the better inheritor of the mantle responsibility.
All right.
So
they wrote names and picked it out of a box.
It's like trying to understand why God makes a decision. You're like, well, he decided to flood the earth today. Not really sure why.
I'd like to think that they were just looking at all their children. They saw the Sangheili and they're like, "Oh God, you ugly bastards!" They just went over to humans like, much better. They actually like dentistry over here, guys. Far better.
I'm sure. I will just touch on it. The cultures of the races were not the same at the time.
Oh no, absolutely.
Imagining like nun Sangheilis.
Go ahead.
If I remember correctly, they also weren't from Sangheili at the time.
Okay.
No, if I remember correct.
Oh,
although I'm not versed in that particular lore, but
we'll get to it in a minute.
We'll get to it when we get to it. So the Forerunners get into a nice little tussle with the precursors, and it turns into a war of extermination. through some grace of, I don't know what they would call a god, but the Forerunners won.
Once again, getting into the theory.
Yes, it's a very complicated theory that we're not going to go into tonight. But
Okay.
basically,
so
just
I
take our
shouldn't
word
poke
for
at
it.
this.
Yeah, not too terrible, not too much. But
Okay.
basically, that the Forerunners won, and just obliterate the precursors, and there is just a lot of bad stuff happens. Like they even say precursors just like basically turn themselves into dust. Think of burning the Prospero, the the Rubrikai Marines and all that good stuff.
Oh, those are some of my favorite kind of Marines, actually. I love that.
Man of culture, I see.
Oh, it's ash.
So I'll say, like, hang on, did they turn themselves into ash, or they just get like blasted and turned into ash?
That is. Go ahead, Shark.
They are shapeshifters and can decide their form.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So they got blasted by like a neutron blast and was like, oh no, I've died, and then turned into dust.
Yeah.
Just as intended.
That's what I'm imagining.
That first possibility, just imagine a misfire and you're just a pile of ash. Like, shit! Like,
damn it, now I'm
put
stuck in
on the
this.
safety. Like,
I imagine all the Forerunners had to do to win this war was knock on the door, and the guy's like, all right, I'm turning to dust now.
he won't expect this. Bam!
So
They won't expect if I use the front door.
So precursors essentially become dust, literally and figuratively. And the Forerunners are sitting nice and high on their mantle of responsibility.
Right.
And
Indubitably.
So this goes on for, just countless millennia, because these are very long-lived, if, basically functionally immortal species. Well, over time, they experience a infestation of a parasitic nature that they end up calling the flood. Now, where this flood comes from is kind of goes into that very overly complicated theory that Shark and I have been mentioning this entire time that may or may not involve the precursors. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. All you need to know is once they discover this infestation of flood, and they are doing everything they possibly can to contain this infestation. They are losing badly. And they just keep every kind of defense they come up with, every kind of measure, the flood are very weak against fire-based or high energy heat wave weapons, but it's just not enough. Everything they do, everything they throw at the flood is not enough. So they come up with a last-ditch effort to neutralize the flood, if at all possible. There is a particular Forerunner individual called the Librarian. She took it upon herself to basically collect all the sentient creatures that are still in the galaxy, which would be, your proto-humans, your proto-elites. She collects them up, catalogs them, takes up as much data as possible into something called the Ark. Now, where have we heard something like that before? A flood, an Ark? Bungie.
What?
There's a reason they like the number 7. There's a reason they like number 7. It has to do with biblical references.
Wait, hang on. Isn't Master Chief's name John 116? Isn't that like a passage in the Bible?
117.
Lordy. The original authors of the Bible is like, look where your shame has brought you back.
Can I sue you for plagiarism?
Jesus wakes up next day. All right, that's it.
All right, Bungie, this is just in. You're all going to hell.
Eternal damnation.
Meanwhile, Bungie's like flapping their hands with fucking like millions of dollars worth of money. Oh no, our immortal souls. Oh no, since when has a corporation ever worried about that?
Oh, my mic.
Oh man.
Okay, so basically the flood is just spreading horribly, right?
The flood is spreading across the entire galaxy at a alarmingly fast rate, and there is not much the Forerunners can do other than just slow their process. So think of it. So whoever made the comment that they were very similar to the Tyranids, that is exactly how it is. Like, the Tyranids are coming. They're spreading. That Hive Fleet is going to consume your entire planet for its biomass. There is not much you can do to stop it.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. One, you said the scale of it's like the galaxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
when they were fighting the precursors and the forerunners, was it like a war in heaven kind of scenario? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Just complete galactic or universal warfare. Okay, so the flood is spreading at an alarming rate. How do they travel?
So the forerunners and the precursors have this thing, or for precursors it's kind of different, but basically space travel in Halo is done through this thing called slip space. And it is essentially, I'm not an astrophysicist, so I'm probably going to butcher this explanation. I apologize to all the angry comments that are about to happen. But you're essentially like point A, point B. There's a certain distance between it. And with slip space, you're basically at another dimension that compresses that area around you, so you get to where you're going a lot faster.
You're warping space and time to kind of like pop you out the location you want to go to.
Yeah,
okay.
It sounds like a railway system, kind of.
It's hilarious that you use that, because the Flood actually use a more advanced method later on that the precursors used. That's called a railroad.
Yeah. Yep. That's why I said it's different for the precursors, because for that reason, I did not know it was called the railroad, but
I think they call it Star Road or something. It's
something kind of corny. Yeah, but
I think it's literally just called Star Roads.
Wow.
Yeah.
Creative.
Yes. Sometimes Bungie is great with their naming conventions, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But anyways, so as the last measure, while the librarian is cataloging all these sentient species, the rest of the Forerunners are creating what is called the Halo system. And it is a series of 7 ring worlds around, I think it says like 10,000 kilometers in diameter. So like just a little bit smaller than Earth. And here's a picture of one of the Halos. They look kind of like that.
These are like artificial worlds.
Yes, they are artificial worlds, and it's kind of like taking the inspiration from Ring World, I think is the name of the book. They originally had, I think, like 9, but for some reason the other 2 were not completed right, or there was just something that just wasn't right about them, so they ended up with 7. So again, another 7 reference for the Bungie fans out there. And they were strategically placed at certain parts of the galaxy, so that what this does is when it activates the whole system, it basically becomes a chain reaction that eliminates all living creatures in the galaxy.
So it's like galaxy-wide exterminatus?
Kind of. Yeah, but a galaxy-wide exterminatus that only goes after a certain biomass. Because like the Tyranids, the Flood thrive on biomass. That is how they evolve, and that is how they end up create what's called a grave mind, which is basically like take the corpses of like thousands upon thousands of dead individuals and retain all their memories, their thoughts, and their skill set, coalesce it all together into one giant Venus flytrap worm hybrid monster, and that is what you call a grave mind. And that is the ruling intelligence of the Flood, essentially.
It's basically the hive mind of the Tyranids.
Yes, except there are multiple grave minds, and I think, multiple grave minds instead of just one single hive mind like for the Tyranids.
Yeah, I think it's also described as they all share the same memories and thoughts, but like they're individual, but they share the same like memories and thoughts.
So and it's less like the hive mind is almost like a cosmic god on the level that's so removed of its species, but the grave minds are individual leaders, but they can relate to each other like signal towers.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes, because there are certain grave minds have certain quirks. Like you actually meet a grave mind in Halo 2, and he has a very odd manner of speaking because apparently, like I guess of the bodies that make up his being, one was like some kind of warrior poet that like wrote and spoke in the manner of speech that he chooses to speak in.
I think his greeting line is, "I am a testament to your sins."
Holy fuck, that goes hard.
Like you're Master Chief and you're knocked out by a blast and you're thrown into a lake and you're just dragged away by a bunch of tentacles. You meet this Venus flytrap monster, and then the blue AI known as Cortana asks, like, "What is that?" And then that's that line. He's like, I am a monument to all of your sins.
That you know how much of an absolute mindfuck it would be to like meet other grave mind.
We
Howdy,
should
partner.
we should talk about. I don't want to get
Assume
into
your
it.
planet.
I don't want to get too much into it, but there was a grave mind called the Primordial, who anytime somebody talked to him, they committed suicide because what they told him or what he told them was so horrible.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
And
so they
actually,
are very personable.
They can be very personable. And the one that says that line, I'm a monument to your sins, he speaks in what's called iambic septameter, which I'm not a poet. So essentially it's like the manner of speech that emphasizes the seventh syllable of whatever you're speaking, which again, another 7 reference. So to beat this intelligence, they have to be deprived of their food, their biomass. So that is why the Halo array was built, was to kill all life in the galaxy, starve out the flood. Once they're starved out, all the races or whatnot that the librarian was collecting data on can then be reseeded back into the galaxy. So to basically start over. And so that is exactly what happens to the elites. That's what happens to the humans, to like all the client races of the Covenant. That is how this whole thing came to be. The problem is, pretty much the entirety of the Forerunners die out with them. Because only a select few make it onto the Ark. I'm sorry. So I forgot to mention, this Ark is a gigantic structure that purposely builds Halo rings. So think about how big... Oh, here we go. So think about how big the Halo rings are. Like I just told you, they're slightly smaller than the size of and this is the Ark. And you can see a Halo ring in its center.
Oh, fuck.
And so this Ark is
Base
in a
flower.
position. This Ark is in a position basically like so far in the galactic void, you can see the entire Milky Way galaxy in the distance. So,
Wow.
and that's why it's called the Ark, is if you are on this when the Halo array activates, you are perfectly safe. You are perfectly safe. The Halo array is not going to affect you whatsoever. So, Halo array gets activated.
Wow.
Not Covenant. The Flood are starved of their biomass. Librarian reseeds, life back into the galaxy of all the species that she's cataloged. And then, life goes on. The thing is, like I said, the Forerunners, they all died when the Halo array was activated because they know there was no hope for them either. So it was just, they sacrificed themselves so that way the rest of the galaxy can move on, can evolve and, do its thing.
That's really cool.
Oh yeah. That being said though, the Forerunners leave a shit ton of their technology behind in either, some kind of ruins or some kind of special structures, just any kind of piece of technology you can think of. So now we get back to the elites. So the elites evolve in Sangheilios after the reseeding or whatnot. Then, just like Shark mentioned, I don't believe they were originally from Sangheilios, but that was just where they happened to be, or that's where they were reseeded after the Halo array was fired.
Do you think that they were put on the Death World because the librarian assumed that the species could survive in those harsh conditions?
I would not
Do you
put it
think that's
past her.
something she would have taken into consideration?
It would have
I
been
would
kind
not
of it would have been a dick move to just reseed them on a planet they would have immediately died on.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Like, you're describing it like a Death World, and she's like, whatever, you're ugly anyway, and just like throws them, just chucks them out of the ship.
That's why she chucks them at Sangheilios.
Like, damn, you ugly bastard, just kicks them like a soccer ball.
Man, I
didn't
hope
wanna
these
fuck
ones
these
don't
guys.
survive.
This is why they hate doctors. The scientists just punted their first ancestor. And just...
I imagine this like little baby Sangheili, and he's like getting examined, and it's like, "What are you? I'm a doctor. Oh, can I be one? Maybe. Good luck." Just bunts him out of the door onto like he falls like face first. He's like 3 years old, and you see him
Nice
like,
to meet you, doctor lady.
Ow, I split my lip. Oh.
and
all
it's like
makes
he has a
sense.
tear, his little tear. I will forever hate doctors.
I'll remember this bitch. As she just flies away.
I'm convinced that their first doctor was just a real asshole, and that's why they all hate doctors.
Well, clearly, I just described who the first doctor was. This bitch.
Hey, I just made the official canon lore. Okay, we just described it. Okay, Rayway and I got it.
That's all right.
it.
Bungie, call us up. We're into the new writers.
Yep, exactly.
We'll do better than you, we promise.
We'll do better than 343. We can uphold your legacy.
Also, give me the keys of destiny. I swear I won't ruin anything.
Give Rayway the key to Destiny. Give me the key to Halo.
And give me free money.
That's always nice.
Oh,
I like money.
I like money.
Money. Okay, wait. Before I get super distracted, she starts reseeding, right? Like just like the old ones, precursors, whatever the hell the name is. So she starts reseeding the galaxy. She wants is out of the ship, and she delicately places the human babies on Earth, and so on and so forth.
To me.
Exactly. So what happens next?
Okay, so the elites evolve, they become civilized, and they become a spacefaring race very, very early on. Like, they're already, colonizing other planets, like, within their system, like, long before, like, even before we learned how to put rock and stick together to make spear. Like, if that gives you an idea of, like, how advanced they were. Like,
Okay. So are we talking, just to put this in numbers, like 1,000,000 years? Thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years.
There's a theory that the dinosaur extinction is caused by the Halo rays firing.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Okay, so the elites, they evolve and or whatnot. They become a spacefaring race very quickly. They are discovering this stuff left by the Forerunners. After they're gone, they're just thinking like, "What is this?" It's like, this is elegant. This is and the other thing too, I forgot to mention about Forerunner technology. It can be hundreds of thousands of years. It can be millions of years. If you dig up Forerunner technology, it is in pristine condition. It will still work no matter what. Like, not even the Necrons can attest to that. With like even though they have like the greatest the best technology in the 40K galaxy, this is nothing compared to Forerunner technology.
Yeah, they still have to knock off their.
So
even
like
with living metal, they're still kind of in disrepair.
So like, okay, so that picture of the Halo and the Ark that I showed you, like, all this was built hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago. When you go to these places in game, in the original Halo and Halo 2, Halo 3, they are still in pristine condition. Like, nothing is wrong with them. That is how good Forerunner technology is. So
as
the
you
elites,
walk the halls, it just
It's fucking Necrons.
There's a deep eye like for some reason this makes me want to kick a fucking doctor right now. I don't know what it is, man.
We're really aggressive towards doctors today.
I woke up today and I chose violence towards doctors.
Yes, I did.
If they brought me to this world, I will take them all out.
So the elites are, or what Sangheili are, they're seeing all this technology that they're, digging up, they're finding on like their own home world, their colony worlds or whatnot. And so they begin to view whoever built these as gods in their own rights. They begin to venerate, honor the Forerunners and, whatever rituals they deem worthy. But they say, this technology is so great. We are not worthy of this. We should leave this alone and just honor it, build shrines to it or whatnot. So they respect the technology, but they consider it heresy to actually use it because they are not worthy.
Huh.
So thousands upon thousands of years later, they meet a race called the Shan Shayum, which are in English terms, the prophets. And let me pull up a picture of them really quick.
This is kind of giving me like Tau and ethereal vibes.
Very much.
So funny you should mention that. Halo Combat Evolved released in 2001, and I think the Tau was 2006. They were introduced in the 40K. And the Tau are a conglomerate of different client races, and their main symbol is basically the marathon symbol from Bungie. So you see, there's a lot of Covenant vibes
They
with the
evolved
Tau.
extremely quickly, discovered great technologies within them. So theory came down and they're
Yes.
like an
Yes. However, the
race
main
that guided forward.
and of course they have like a super rigid caste system of like this species is better than this species. This species is just like the lowest of the low, that sort of thing.
Right.
The one difference I would argue is the way the Covenant go about their theocracy, their religion is very on par with the Imperium.
Yeah, I was getting those vibes. Heresy, my favorite word.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. So what I just posted is a picture of the prophets from Halo 2.
Yeah.
But that is
Damn.
essentially what their species look like. They're very haunting.
Not sexy.
Now talk about a species that deserves good punting. Holy crap.
Well, they're all wheelchair bound.
The old ones are.
Hey. Remember, I said we were against
Hey,
everyone
clear-
this episode. Doesn't matter nationality, doesn't matter disability. We're coming for you.
Oh, man.
I love how we just chose their careers.
Oh man.
This is the podcast that ends it all.
Quick, put them
Yep.
down.
This will be what does
Exactly.
this
It will
anyway.
be remembered that Shark and Brody are the ones.
Patreon is taking down
Guys,
the
I'm
Patreon.
so going to Twitter with this one.
This is not. We have all been canceled and hunted down by our governments.
Oh, they found me.
Oh no, I can hear them banging on the door now. Well, it's been an honor, gentlemen.
It was good serving with you.
Oh. Okay. Serious face now.
That's what's going to be great when it launches.
So, the elites come in contact with the prophets. Here's the thing, though. The prophets, they also discovered Forerunner technology where they evolved. They come to love it to the point of they want to reverse engineer and use the Forerunner technology. And they actually come to the elite homeworld with a Forerunner dreadnought. The elites don't like this because that is considered ultra heresy and needs to be stomped out.
Heresy!
So, in true Halo fashion, they get into a little tussle, and this goes on for several hundred years, until the prophets finally have enough, and they use that Forerunner dreadnought and body the elites.
So they weren't using this in the entire war?
They weren't using it the entire war until they finally had enough, and then just used their ultimate trump card and just body the elites. Because the elites, they're a very advanced spacefaring race in their own right. They have their own weapons, they have their own technology, and it's like compared to humans at the time frame, that is just like superior. But they're going against Forerunner technology, which we established is just mwah, chef's kiss.
So, one thing I'm wondering is the how did I already forget their names? The
Hello?
Are they just so superior that they could just play with them for those couple hundred years until they just decide it was enough, or was that like a last resort, like we have to?
Kind of more of a last resort. Like they were tired of the war. They wanted it to end.
I believe the reason they don't use the dreadnought is they also came to the belief that they were gods and didn't want to risk their god's relic.
Earphones are messing up here. So yeah, they're just wanting this to end essentially. So they figured that's the best way to bring about just getting the war over with. And boy, they mess up the elites big time. So they finally the elites realize we are getting fucked. So let's just come to an agreement and just figure out the best way for our species to survive this. Prophet leadership, elite leadership, they get together and they realize, prophets are very, very good leaders. Elites are very good warriors, military leaders. They come to basically an agreement to venerate the Forerunners, and they create what's called the Writ of Union, and that is the founding of the Covenant.
So it's a very good holy war in the end.
In that it ends?
Well, and that both sides come to a reasonable conclusion. It seems like both sides seem to
Ally and benefit each other.
Yeah,
So, like,
it isn't like Deus ex infidel. Or Deus volt infidel. This one's very much like, okay, you know what? We both worship the same God. Generally speaking, let's just venerate them and cooperate.
They got together.
Anybody
they
else
decided Forerunners are awesome. Doctors fucking suck. Let's be friends. You know.
There you go.
And,
okay,
yes.
so I think Brody, you had this. You asked the question before, like, what time frame are we talking about here with the elites and the prophets fighting each other?
Mhm.
Take a wild guess when the covenant was officially formed, when they signed this treaty. Just take a wild guess.
Like how many years since the war started,
or just like how long ago from today did this happen? Anybody, feel free to answer this.
I don't know,
100 years. They were super advanced, but humans were still rocks and stones. 10,000.
Yeah, I would say 10,000. No, I would say
1 million.
I would say 5,000. I'm gonna say 5,000.
Okay, not that far
back. 200.
1,322.
852 BCE.
I was so close.
That is.
Hang on. So
that's 10,000 years because it goes in negative after BCE.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You cheated me out of my victory. Dishonor. Execute him. Execute him.
And his family.
And his dog. I want his dog
to assassinate
dead.
Me.
His cat dead.
He got your day wrong. He tried to assassinate me.
He tried to skirt my honor. Little did he know he's dishonorable now.
That means I can kill him.
Let's go, baby. Okay, Gerald. I'll let this one slide.
Though. So while humans are playing Far Cry Primal, these guys are playing Solaris.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So like we're just coming off of, we're basically a few hundred years after the Trojan War was supposed to happen. These guys are already playing Stellaris and just like fighting space battles and Star Wars and just Exterminatus and everything.
Bro, Homer would have had a field day writing about them.
Oh, yes, he would.
You should have seen this, guys. Ah, yeah.
So after the founding of the Covenant, over the next few hundred years, they basically formed their mobile capital city called High Charity.
Yeah, I've seen this thing. This is fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yep. It is basically a giant mushroom, and the dreadnought that the prophets use to body the elites, that becomes the main power source in the center of the city.
Hang on, is that a fucking asteroid on the surface on top of it?
It's a quarter of their planet.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Wait. So when you say city, this is a quarter of a planet that I'm staring at.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it the city like system, like stars, or they literally put this down on the planet somehow?
Yeah, because there's a thing about the prophets kind of screwing up their own planet and their own species. So like because of through their own fault, they are an endangered species. But that is neither here nor there.
Right.
And here is a picture of the inside of High Charity with the dreadnought in the center.
See here.
Inside the mushroom, basically.
Oh, that looks just like Destiny. Not just like Destiny, but the how it floats in. What am I talking about? I forget the name.
You know what it gives me the vibe of? Paris.
Yeah, I can.
Why do you have to say that?
Yes.
Now,
silly Frenchman.
All I see is the Eiffel.
I gave the French a W. That's unfortunate.
I don't
what is wrong with you?
French people? Ugh. There's another one on the checklist. Write that down.
I'm glad you're keeping score, Brody.
Yeah.
Okay, so they built High Charity, and that basically becomes their mobile capital city. And so they venture out into the galaxy searching for more Forerunner artifacts, Forerunner relics, ways that they can go about venerating the Forerunners. And that is how, over time, they collect and meet up with different races. One of them was called the Hunters. These giant monstrosities right here.
Ooh.
They are a sentient worm race that
I don't like them.
their collective name is called Let Golo, and they're that's what the worms are called, but they can basically band together into like some gestalt and create these 12-foot tall hulking monstrosities called a megalith golo that you can basically attach like the side of a starship for a shield, and then a freaking fuel rod cannon that acts like acts like a Gauss blaster.
Oh, that is such horribly like good cosmic horror. You know what I mean? Like alien worms all combining together. Like seeing that on a battlefield.
Yep, and so the hunters, they were discovered by a excavation team led by an arbiter. We'll delve more into the arbiter in a little bit, but they were seen eating the Forerunner technology because the worms that make up the hunter are omnivorous to the extreme.
No.
It's wild.
So, of course, the first thing that the elites and the prophets do is try to exterminate us, or basically purge the eaters of their lord's creations.
These worms are guilty of heresy.
Purge heretics.
They're not made in the name. They're not made in the shape of their god.
I was.
They had good doctors. Purge.
Oh, ew! Purge it. Worms have doctors.
So, anyways, they soon realized how well, once these worms form together to basically create these monstrosities, these guys can fight pretty darn good. After learning how to communicate, they essentially basically bring these hunters into the fold. And so that's your next client race. And this happened in, where are my notes? This happened in 784 BCE. So about, just, a few decades after like the Covenant first forms. All right. So now the next client race.
One thing I like about the Covenant's culture, I don't mean to cut in, but enjoy the fact they can meet me and be like, hey, I would actually like to learn how to talk with you because you could be valuable, and it would be more valuable to both of us if we just got along for a second and like move forward.
And that actually creates an interesting point whenever we get to the humans. For our purposes, we're just going to kind of gloss over it. So the hunters, it is a time called the taming of the hunters. Make of that what you will. Next client race happens in, we're going to breeze through the rest of these fairly quickly, in 1112 CE. So like we're just coming off of our crusades, and like the Covenant's already had their fourth client race. And these are the drones.
So sad.
And that's what they look like. They fly, they're insectoid, and they are the worst damn thing you will ever fight in any fucking Halo game.
Yeah, I never fought these things.
I spare you the mercy.
It's a praying mantis, basically.
Praying mantis meets like a moth meets just
a hornet?
A cicada.
Hornet. Oh. Anyways, breezing over these guys really quick. So just another race. They're very good at flying, especially in zero gravity environments. They're very good engineers. Next one is a very interesting case, and this race in 1342, they meet what we call the jackals, and they're a bird-like race that actually they were also a very competent spacefaring race, and they did most of their living based off of piracy. So these are your first space pirates.
Like, are these guys called the same way as the elites, as the Sangheili?
They're built with.
No, wait. This is the reject child of Sangheili mothers. This is the thing I was talking about here, guys. This is what they look like. We found them.
These are doctors.
These are great value Kroot, is what they are.
Great value Kroot. That is a very good way to put it. Hold on, let me find a skirmisher, and that is because there are actually different variants of a jackal, and one of them is called a skirmisher, which is the best way to describe it, an angry murder bird. Here we go.
So are these the mom I want Kroot? We have Kroot at home?
Yes,
very much so. So yeah, Mama, I want a Kroot model, but we have Kroot at home. The Kroot at home.
Oh my god, that was disgusting.
Jesus,
why is it
Christ?
It's very feathery.
Yes,
it looks like an owl on meth.
I like I do. Yes, it is a methyl. But I also like the Utah Raptor feel.
Yeah,
Anyone else is getting that?
that's
But
kind
like
of the overall
tans
vibe
and
of the
everything. Like
Jackals.
if you
Is like
added a
they're,
tail on them, they'd literally just be raptors.
I mean, that's basically the look that the developers were trying to go with when they did the Jackals. Is like you have your reptile race, which is the elites. You have whatever the hell the prophets are. You have the hunters, which are worms. You got the drones, which are insects, and now you have your basically your bird race, which are the jackals or the skirmishers. That is them, and they have an interesting position where. Oh, and I forgot to mention too. Like when the covenant formed, you were basically once you join the covenant, one, you cannot leave. Two, you are to follow our religious doctrine and our veneration of the forerunners. Otherwise, you get accused of, say it with me now, heresy.
Heresy.
Exactly.
AKA being a doctor.
So with the Jackals, because they were so good at they were very good mercenaries, they were very good pirates and trade, they were kind of sort of given a carte blanche in that, you can join the covenant, you can join the great journey, if you will, which most of them do, but they were the only race to be given the option of joining either wholesale or just continue being pirates. Which
So they're privateers.
Privateers, legal distinction and all. And then in 21, so from 1342 to 2142, they come across the grunts, which is a 5-foot tall race of humanoid. Help me out, Shark.
Turtles.
Yeah. And you might recognize these, Ray, as I brought them up during our Skaven episode because they have the very high-pitched voices and whatnot. They basically look like turtles with shark tanks or shark fins.
I was just about to. We were just missing fish people. You know what I mean? Boom, right here. They're beautiful.
Diversity.
Like, would it be bad if I said I want one as a pet?
No, it's not, because I have that same instinct.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me. Halo 3.
Runs. I love the high pitched voices though. Like I have heard that. It's like no, it's a Spartan. Run.
Okay, so that's the cute version of the grunts. Here is the grunts that you fight in Halo 3.
Retro.
I was so adopted.
I still want it. I still want it.
They're still hilarious.
Reggie.
So the grunts, they're like 5 feet tall.
That just looks like a toddler who needs a shower.
Yeah, they're like 5 feet tall, stocky, just cowardly, weak-willed, and just so they get indoctrinated into basically a slave race, essentially, like heavy manual labor. Just like they do all the dirty work for the Covenant, clean the starships, and these guys breed like rabbits. Because they too live on a death world, and so the only way for the species to live on is to bam,
I mean, think of what are they called? They're one of the races from the Mass Effect. I think they're called the Krogan, but yeah, they have like
they're the Krogan, but without all the badassery and redundant organ. Very quick, the grunts and the jackals hate each other big time because they are like of the Covenant races thus far, they are like the lower tier. They're both the lower tier. They have to do what the elites and the prophets say, and they just get stepped on by hunters if they say the wrong thing. So
and since they're the only two people who can contend with each other, they take it out on like each other.
And so the jackals and the grunts get into like a tiff because the jackals poison their food supply and make them infertile, kind of like the Krogan genophage from Mass Effect.
That's sad.
So this pisses off the grunts.
Asshole move.
I know. So this pisses off the grunts, and they actually form the Grunt Rebellion, where they take part in, a lot of basically guerrilla warfare all over High Charity of all places. And, a lot of people die, but of course the Covenant, they're just a huge, massive conglomerate. They're basically like the Empire from Star Wars. They are just so vast. You just cannot hope to take them down by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So poor grunts. However, there was also an arbiter involved during this Grunt Rebellion, or actually an arbiter was appointed for the purpose of putting down this Grunt Rebellion. The arbiter at this time frame realized you guys actually fight pretty well. How about you join us as, as obviously, lower tier as some of our warriors. So that was kind of, they didn't really have much of another choice because the other option was that the Covenant were going to glass their homeworld, which basically in Halo terms, glassing is another form of exterminatus. You have your Covenant starships that have super advanced plasma weaponry circle around the planet, and just they have in the center of each ship is basically what amounts to a giant plasma cannon, and then they just let loose continuously for hours until the entire surface is just obliterated and literally burned to glass. And so what the Covenant would do is for every world that they burn or that they have to glass, they will send a team down, take a shard of that glass, and then they'll hang it up in a kind of like a trophy room almost, where you actually go there. You actually go there as part of a level from Halo 2, and you just see there are thousands of these shards hanging from the ceiling. So that gives you an idea of how terrifying the Covenant are and how they do not mess around if they decide your planet is worthy of being glassed.
Right.
Get fucked,
So there,
nerds.
Welcome
There
to
is-
the war crimes section of the museum.
if you'll
See,
see
told
right
you,
up
Halo's
you
pretty
go to our
grim when you
latest
kind of
entry to the collection.
what?
Oh, sorry, my connection's going haywire.
Oh,
Want to try again?
okay. Try again.
Okay, sorry, but I found it be interesting the fact that the Sangheili will go in and for the grunts and offer them like a way out, almost like a shogun and his samurai army getting sent by the emperor. And, make the Covenant out the
That's really
rebellion.
interesting.
I just
I didn't know
found that
that.
pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
And then the last client race that we're going to briefly touch up on are the Brutes in 2492. So as far as Halo, in Halo terms, the war between the Covenant and the humans starts in 2525, and the main games take place in the year 2552. So the Covenant meet up with the Brutes, and that's what these guys look like. Just a few decades before war with the humans broke out. So a brute, for our dear listeners, is think of a gorilla rhinoceros hybrid that's about 9 to 10 feet tall and about 3 times as wide, and they wield gravity hammers.
Damn,
These boys,
that's
chomp.
pretty cool. That's really cool.
They use the power of monkey and chonk.
Oh my god! Do they have jetpacks or some shit?
Some do have jetpacks,
Oh
but
my
yeah, they
fucking
just
God.
keep charging. They go at you and keep charging with nothing but the power of monkey.
So hang on. So
Wow.
you got a gorilla on a jetpack holding a sledgehammer. Okay.
There is also a reason that
um,
humans call them
to bring.
brutes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I said there's a reason the humans call them brutes.
Oh yeah, they are a very
just come
brutal
in,
tribal race. We'll discuss them in whole in like
Yeah.
another episode, but
Oh, okay.
basically because of how freakishly brutal they are, pun intended, the prophets take a liking to this race. The elites notice that, and so brutes are soon given a lot of certain privileges that a lot of the other client races don't. And for a lot of reasons, the elites and the brutes just hate each other. So they're basically all like in competition for who's going to actually lead the Covenant military, and who's the better leader of the Covenant's armies, essentially.
Interesting.
Yes. Now, in the year 2525, oh, sorry. Remember how I was telling you there are these different arbiters that are appointed to these very pivotal points in Covenant history?
Yeah.
There is a reason for that. And we're going to discuss that right now in what I call the disgrace of the arbiter. So in elite society, an arbiter was basically like your leader, like your appointed leader. This is who we follow, kind of like in Pirates of the Caribbean, where they elect a pirate king to lead them and during like a trying time or whatnot. This is what the arbiter is. And so the arbiter is originally like, if you're given the title of arbiter, you are the best of the best. You have the highest honor. You are what every single Sangheili or elite, wants to be. Around 2100, 2152, according to Halo Legends, there is a elite called Fel, F-E-L, Chavami. He was the appointed arbiter of the elites at this time frame, and he does something that you don't do in a theocracy. He does not believe in the divine right of the Forerunners. He does not believe in their divinity. That it is essentially like, basically think of like your Space Marine chapter masters saying to the ecclesiarch, mind you, I do not believe the Emperor of Mankind is a god. You don't do that. You just don't do that.
You're fucked.
The journey is a lie!
And here is a picture of him. One that I could find that actually was relatively clear. This is him. So you can kind of see that Bushido, pseudo-Japanese samurai look about him.
Literally wearing a kimono.
Totally.
Yes. So that is him. Of course, the prophet that he tells us to, so in their veneration of the Forerunners, the Covenant believe in something called the Great Journey. They know of the Halo array. They don't know exactly what it does, but they believe that the Forerunners use this to become gods. If we find this Halo array and activate it, we can become gods too. So that is the whole basis of their belief.
Ouch.
Yes. So this elite, fall, whatever you want to call them, does not believe in this. Basically, through a bunch of complicated measures, the prophet basically has him killed by his own people, his own rival, nonetheless. And so what the prophets do in this case is take that title of arbiter and go to the rest of the covenant and be like, look at this. Look at what your vaunted champion has done. This is a disgrace. From now on, anyone who takes this title is shameful upon your people and upon the covenant as a whole. Anyone who has disgraced themselves so low, they are going to be given the option to become an arbiter and try and regain that honor through the most suicidal missions possible. Now we go to the humans. In the year 2525, there is a human colony called Harvest. And that is where the Covenant first meet with the humans. And it goes, about like you would expect. They first try the Covenant do like what we talked about before. They try to treat with the humans and, kind of figure out what they want. But through one reason or another, essentially a trigger-happy grunt gets overly excited or overly paranoid, shoots a human, and then that's how this whole mess got started.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, that sucks. Imagine being the Covenant leader that hears about this in the report, and he's like, "Damn it, Jimmy!" And so for the next eternity, they're just enemies because of Jimmy.
Well, here's the funny thing, though. The Covenant species that first treats with humans were grunts and brutes.
Oh,
so let that sink in. They were the first species to actually treat.
Are they really the diplomats?
They actually tried to be diplomatic.
Are they really the proper diplomats to send in? Yeah.
Well, this is from the book Contact Harvest, but the brutes in question actually was moderately reasonable, or tries to be. He hates the elites. He's very, very tribal or whatnot, but he is willing to follow, the Covenant's mandates or whatnot and try to treat with the humans as they've done with every other clan race that they've met.
Cool.
But here's the issue. The fighting breaks out. You would think, leadership would be upset that, fighting is broken out. But the prophets end up activating at around this time a long buried AI in their dreadnought at the center of High Charity that looks suspiciously like the Eiffel Tower. Thanks a lot for that image, Shark. And the AI activates and basically makes a proclamation of this is not reclamation. This is reclaimer. These humans are our inheritor. And there are three prophets that hear this. They freak the fuck out because they realize our entire religion is built on a lie.
Ooh.
And so these three prophets lie, bribe, and blackmail their way to the top of the leadership to the position of hierarch, which is basically, Covenant have this huge hierarchy. There are 3 prophets that basically lead the entire Covenant as spiritual leaders, military leaders. They make all the final decisions. These 3 prophets that were there to hear that, they basically weasel their way into leadership because prophets as a species are very known to do. And instead of accepting the humans into the Covenant, they want them exterminated because they want to hide every trace of the fact that humans are the ones to actually, quote unquote, inherit what the Forerunners have left behind. Because then that means their whole power base is crumbling from underneath them. Their whole religion is a lie. It's a sham. They don't want that, obviously.
Well, all their leverage over every other alien race in the Alliance too is gone. Because all of a sudden the humans, by their own rules, are the...
Yeah, they immediately become like middle tier and humanity takes over.
Mm-hmm. So to hold on to their own power, to keep their Covenant empire from crumbling, the prophets decree the humans to be an affront to their gods, to their Forerunners, and need to be exterminated and wiped from the galaxy.
God, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything besides the preachers said so, like in terms of propaganda and how they sold that to the entire Covenant?
Because granted, this is like 3,000 years of prophet and elite rule that it's kind of like the 10,000 years between the Horus Heresy and 40K is just everything is time. So much time has passed, so much indoctrination has happened. It's just like you buy into it. You don't know anything else. And because the 3 prophets whose names are Truth, Mercy, and Regret, if you know anything about the characters, is completely ironic. But anyways, so for these 3 prophets, they're the only ones that actually know about the true purpose of humanity and the Forerunners. And they try their hardest to make sure no one else knows that. And they do a pretty damn good job of
it. Interesting. Okay.
So this is the Human Covenant War. This goes on for basically almost 30 years. And it starts in 2525. The main trilogy takes place in the year 2552. Humanity is on it's a constant losing stalemate where the humans are very tenacious, and overall it's mentioned in the lore a few times that they actually have the better ground fighters, if you can believe that. They have better overall leadership, better ground fighters. They're a lot more coordinated. But here's the problem though. Any kind of naval or void engagements, any kind of anything involving technology or plasma weaponry, the Covenant will trounce them every single time. The humans just cannot compete. So it's kind of like fighting the Tyranids in 40K. You can fight them off. You can bust up a hive fleet. You can bust up one of those hive tendrils, but the Tyranids are just going to keep on coming and keep on coming. And that's exactly how the Covenant are to the humans.
Interesting.
Just before the main trilogy is Halo Reach. Now, Halo Reach, I have heard, is very much akin to kind of like the Horus Heresy. It's like the Horus Heresy of Halo, in that when the first couple of games came out, a lot is mentioned of the Fall of Reach. Ray, I think you said you have the book, The Fall of Reach. That was a very, very important, very pivotal moment in Halo history, because other than Earth, Reach is the most fortified, strongest military complex and colony known to humanity.
Is it like Cadia, like equivalency?
If you want to think of it like that, think of it like Cadia. Reach is basically the Halo equivalent of Cadia. It is the most important planet. If that falls, humanity is fucked.
Okay.
And guess what happens?
Reach
the fall of Reach happens.
I haven't read the Fall of Reach.
Still stands, Gerald, unlike you.
What's that?
Like the Katie. Freaking love those. Katie still stands, Joey, unlike you.
So the Covenant inevitably discover Reach. They invade, and they keep on going. And basically they keep going until the entire planet is glassed. Just like so many countless other human planets that the Covenant have destroyed. And back to like what Shark and I were talking about, Halo Reach is probably one of my favorite of the Bungie games because of how terrifying they make the Covenant. Like when you get to Halo 2 and Halo 3, like, the Covenant are great. The grunts are funny. The elites, they start to speak, they speak English or whatnot and everything. But in Halo Reach, they go back to, they want the Covenant to be terrifying and just show why Reach fell. And that is, of course, leading this assault is the elites. And specifically, let me pull him up. Supreme Commander Thel, Thel, Vadami.
Ooh.
This is his Halo 5 because I couldn't find a good one, but yes, this is the Thel Vadami, who would also become quote unquote the Arbiter. How does he do that? All right.
The drip is immaculate.
Oh, he's got awesome drip. And in his first appearance in Halo 2, he's just a golden armored zealot that you've seen me post earlier. But basically, after the fall of Reach, one human ship escapes called the Pillar of Autumn, and they come across one of the Halo rings, which there's reasons why they discovered the Halo, but we're not going to get into that. So Thel Vadami was the supreme commander of the fleet of the Covenant fleet that essentially just obliterated Reach. He sees his human ship escape. He follows into this Halo ring. Holy crap! This is the ring of our forefathers. This is the holy ring right here. So he is doing everything in his power to make sure the humans don't land on the Halo ring. Humans land on the Halo ring. So now he's trying to get rid of all the humans off the Halo ring or whatnot. After in game, after you fight a bunch of his soldiers or whatnot, you actually don't meet this character in Halo 1. He does not appear, but you fight his soldiers and whatnot, and you find out what we talked about earlier with Forerunners. Halo was built to destroy all life in the galaxy to starve out the Flood.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the Forerunners that were left wanted to study the Flood, so they actually stored some Flood samples into labs on several of the Halo rings. The Covenant find this. They don't realize they don't understand the biohazard sign, and they do not open. So what do? They open it. They release the Flood. Yay.
So they see the big red letters and they're like, this can't stop me because I read. Just open it.
Because I'm not a doctor. I can't read.
God didn't want me to see it, so it must be good.
I played this RPG before. That means there's loot inside.
Loot. Big sword. Yeah.
Maybe it's a monster item. Oh,
okay.
I become a monster.
God. For the immense knowledge that these ancient races had, why keep the vial of the thing you're trying to completely wipe out from the galaxy? Like, they had the right idea in mind. It was, you want to study something like this so that way, in the very unlikely event it happens again, you'll know how to deal with it. But the problem is you'll have some kind of antivirus.
But because most of the Forerunners died, when the Halo array was activated, there was the hope that, okay, maybe whoever replaces us as the next, dominant species can learn something from this. Too bad the first dominant species that comes across it was the fucking Covenant.
So the Forerunner screwed over the galaxy again. You see, guys, this entire episode is just proving my doctors suck. I think we found it out. We found out the secret. This is the lesson of Halo.
See, I'm still wondering, do all Halos have Flood spores on them, or was it just this one? Because, okay.
Oh no, all of them do.
Okay,
every Halo.
Okay,
all of them have labs dedicated to the study of whatever Flood bioform was active in that part of the galaxy at that time.
Interesting. Okay. So when the Covenant find these rings, they break open the Flood, and the shit hits the fan.
And the shit has definitely hit the fan.
The galactic fan.
Yes. So once, of course, you're playing as the Master Chief. Once you discover this, you got to contain the Flood as much as possible. But then, then they originally thought that the Halo ring would wipe out the Flood. No, it doesn't. Then that's where you find the plot twist. No, it doesn't wipe out the flood. It wipes out their food because that's the only thing you can do is starve them out. So kind of like
Sucks.
Yep. So kind of like a certain Inquisitor Cryptman trying to starve out a Tyranid High Fleet, but just completely going about it the wrong way.
Right.
Anyways, so then the whole point of the rest of that game is you're trying to figure out a way to destroy Halo. And I'm not going to spoil the awesomeness that are those final levels, but basically it is epic. You destroy Halo, and so our character that will become the Arbiter sees this, and he is just like, "Fuck, what do I do?" So he hangs his head in shame. He realizes what he's done, and so he goes to make a formal apology to the prophets and the Covenant High Council, and because he just failed so hard at this, he is stripped of his title. He is branded with something called the Mark of Shame, and then he is originally ordered to be executed with it, and I quote, "Hung by your entrails and your corpse paraded throughout the city."
Holy fuck.
Okay.
But our
Think
three
it's it,
prophets
guys.
had a better idea.
Better than hanging by the entrails?
They appoint him arbiter to serve as their extension, to serve as their will, and to continue to help serve in the covenant in whatever way possible. Because at that same time that Halo was destroyed, there was a forerunner structure on the gas giants. So if you go back to the Halo picture I showed you, there's a gas giant that's orbiting. There is a forerunner gas mine there that they had sent as Halo 1 was going on, they sent an expeditionary team over there led by one elite called, let me pull up his name, Sessa Refumi. And everything's going on. He's exploring this gas mine, and he meets up with a certain 343 Guilty Spark. That's that Spark character that you were talking about earlier, Ray. He is what's called a monitor of the Halo ring. So there are 7 Halo rings, and then there is a floating orb AI called a monitor. Each ring has an assigned monitor, to basically help maintain, kind of like just like your basic engineer maintenance kind of character. This particular elite, Sessa, meets Guilty Spark, which is the name of this monitor, and he just unloads all this information about Halo and what it's about. Sessa realizes, shit, we've been lied to this entire time. So he makes it his mission to try and spread this word to to as many of the client races of the Covenant as possible, and basically try and pull the wool from their eyes, essentially. So the prophets notice this. So what do you think they do? Just wild guess, anybody.
That is absolutely unacceptable.
They retire him with benefits.
They don't just revoke his benefits; they label him a heretic. And so this new arbiter, Thelvadami, or now he is now called the Arbiter. His first mission is to quell this heresy. And that leads into Halo 2, where, guess what? You get to play as an elite now.
Ooh,
Oh.
Very cool.
That's a cool perspective change.
Oh, yeah. So, Sessa Refumi, heretic. It is the Arbiter's job to quell and purge this heretic. During the Arbiter's missions in Halo 2, you get to play as an elite. And that is where the fan favorites, that's where, if you've heard a bunch of complaints about Halo Infinite or basically any of the 343 games, one of the biggest complaints you'll find is you do not get to play as an elite in either of those games for multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's one of the complaints I have about it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
You raid the gas mine, you kill the heretics, and you get into a quote unquote boss battle with Sessa Refumi. He says just enough information to kind of make the Arbiter question, like, what's going on to make you turn traitor this bad compared to what we believe in. And anyways, further along in the game, because again, the elites are, one of the original founding Covenant members, and the hierarchs, the three leading prophets, they have their own bodyguard system. So you know how like the God Emperor has the Adeptus Custodes, our boys in gold?
Oh yeah. The Golden Band boys.
Yes. So the prophet hierarchs have the elite honor guard, and they're basically, think the red armored elites, but with like huge ornate orange glowing, just I don't know how else to describe it. Elites honor guard.
It's like they watched Cyberpunk once and they were like, yes.
That is exactly how it is, and here is a picture of one from the original Halo 2. That's an elite honor guard.
Oh god, yeah. They so got up off the couch like watching a Cyberpunk movie, and they were like, "Dude, that's sick! Like, make that now."
And apart from the zealots and the arbiter, these are some of the deadliest elites you fight in game. And they have an ultra. They have an ultra version.
Huh? What?
Yes.
Nani?
So all that, but with white armor and the overshields. Yes. These the personal bodyguards of the prophet hierarchs. These are basically your custodes equivalent for the covenant.
Oh yeah, that's hot right there. Oh yeah.
Here's the issue though. Partway through the game, and because in Halo 2 you swap back and forth between playing as Master Chief and playing as the Arbiter. In one of the Master Chief's levels, you actually get to infiltrate and kill one of the three prophet hierarchs.
Oh, sweet.
Mm-hmm. A lot of pent-up frustration from 30 years of war and genocide will do that to you.
I can imagine that.
So Master Chief, obviously, because you're the player, you become successful in this job. But then on the Arbiter side of things, this is a huge blow, not just to Covenant leadership, but to the elites. Because their honor code, they are supposed to be the protectors of the hierarchs, and they failed. One of them is killed by a human. A super soldier human, but by a human nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
The prophets used this opportunity to finally stick it to the elites after thousands of years of just pure, like, teeth clenched teamwork. Like, even though they were the founding members of the Covenant, they still really hated each other behind, in private or whatnot. So
yeah,
the prophets use this as a means to get the brutes to replace the elites as the Covenant's new military leadership.
No.
Oh, that's such a huge blow.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Mm-hmm. So at first it's just, you see elite honor guards taking off their helmets and then giving it to brutes, who then of course just fight each other over it, because brutes are essentially, think rhinoceros, monkey hybrids, but also orcs.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I like that helmet. Give me that tree. And they just start playing.
There is a cutscene that is exactly how you describe that. I kid you not.
Wow. I am a brute. The brute is me.
Now, when you switch back over to the Arbiter, the prophets learn that to activate this Halo ring, you need a key, or an activation key, which this is something you learn from the first Halo. So the Arbiter's next mission is to find this key to activate Halo. Then you find out that at the end of your mission, the prophets secretly gave the brutes an order to exterminate the elites.
A bloody fate awaits you and the rest of your incompetent race.
Oh. That's a risky move. Like, even with how much influence they have, do you realize how destabilizing that would be the second word gets out about that?
It's
not even just words. Do not care at this point.
It's right now in Civil War. That's what it's you literally killing one of the founding. It would be equivalent to, like, I don't know, one of the U.S. states going to war with one out of the 50 and being like, yeah, no, we're just gonna like wipe this one out.
Go
ahead.
It'd be the equivalent of the ecclesiarchy in Warhammer going Mechanicus heresy.
It also kind of reminds me, like, the brutes and the elites are, I imagine, like, two of the main military forces of the continent, and so it's forcing turn on through lies. Feud is almost like a dictator going maniacal and starting to go insane. You know what I mean? Like how they used to go, like, in the USSR, where they start, like, having their own council assassinate each other, and they think that the other guy doesn't know. I mean,
it sure seems like, given the fact that they have, like, really, like, pretentious names like Truth and, was it Regret and Mercy?
Truth,
Yes.
Right.
mercy, and regret. And in Halo 2, Master Chief kills regret. Again, irony.
I was just about. That's quite fitting.
Wait, is Mercy the one that like dies and like doesn't get mercy? Like everyone just like walks away from him as he's dying.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I've seen
Because
that
what
scene.
happens
I've seen that
is
scene.
because what happens is the Covenant on the second Halo that is discovered in Halo 2 do the same thing they did before, unleash the flood unwillingly, and then enough flood basically infect the human ships that are there, gather enough biomass and memory and skill, and the Covenant, not knowing this, slip spaces High Charity, their holy city, their capital, to the site of what becomes Delta Halo. This is the Halo that you visit in Halo 2. They slip space to Delta Halo. Now the flood that controlled this human ship managed to get onto High Charity as all this is happening. And so the ship crashes and flood spores are released. One of them attacks the Prophet of Mercy, and it's a very slow, painful death. But Truth finally sees this as, okay, it's my turn to rule by myself. So he orders his brute honor guard to leave Mercy be and just walk off.
Oh my god.
As Mercy is just like, a flood spore is just like gnawing and just ripping at his neck because they have like that disgusting gooseneck look about them. Anyways, so yeah, to answer that question, that is Mercy that is killed without mercy.
So one thing I want to ask though, the prophets, are they naturally like unstable and almost like how Skaven just have a nasty personality, or are
Yes.
they actually kind of losing their minds?
A little bit of both. The designation for the prophets is Perfidia vermis, which translates to worms of treachery. It is in their biological nature to just be backstabby, just like the Skaven.
Oh, they're just like the Confederation from Star Wars. Who are those worm guys?
I can't remember. Oh, Geonosians.
No, not Geonosians. It's the guys who talk with Darth Maul and Palpatine through the hologram, and they're like, the Jedis are here.
Moidians.
Yeah, they're just known to be scummy, birth, and they lie and they backstab their brothers, and they're just all around douchebags. But they're smart and they know how to get into banks and everything, so they gain power.
Yes, but what in the prophets' case is they have really good religious leadership and are very charismatic.
Yeah.
So all of this is going on. Flood have invaded High Charity. The Great Schism has broken out, which is the elites fighting the brutes. The elites are breaking off from the Covenant because of what the prophets have done. And so in this, and of course, and also in Halo 2, the Covenant have discovered. I forgot to mention that before.
Reggie.
Yeah, the Covenant have discovered.
Glass ready.
So humanity is just like in. If anyone has played Gears of War, it is just like you are on your last handhold. Like you have no other options left. In a sense, the elites leaving the Covenant becomes a godsend because Arbiter realizes what's going on. He finally learns the truth about what Halo is and what it does, and then he's piecing it all together too. Because that question that you asked before about why didn't the Covenant approach the humans like diplomats is the elites during this 30-year-long war, mostly like the elite leadership, they're thinking these humans can fight. Why have we not accepted them into the Covenant yet? And because they're just because we know we're being denounced as abominations because of what the prophets have found out. But a lot of the elites are like, these guys can fight. Why aren't we there? Why don't we just make them surrender and make them our friends? Why are we exterminating them?
Right.
So
they're honorable warriors. Why are we wasting munitions when they could be joining us and we can move on?
And this was a sentiment that a lot of the elites as a whole kind of felt. Granted, of course, you'll find out like after Halo 3 or whatnot that like there's still plenty of elites that hate humans. And there was a question like the elite heretic that you fight earlier in Halo 2, like would he have allied with the humans if he had been given the choice? We don't really know, but that there's just enough doubt. So the Arbiter uses this opportunity to basically ally with the humans and help fight off the brutes and prevent them from activating Halo. And then, a whole bunch of shenanigans later, we get to Halo 3. Most of the elites are officially our allies. They help us fight the Covenant. Arbiter is a badass because he's the Arbiter. And you fight off the Covenant, you fight off the Flood. And in Halo 3, there's kind of like a Deus Ex Machina moment. They realize the Halo that you destroyed in Halo 1, it's being rebuilt by the Ark. But it's being rebuilt with the modification of it can actually be selectively attacking the Flood and not other life in the galaxy.
Oh.
So what the Master Chief and the Arbiter realize is activate this Halo, because remember when I said that the Flood have overtaken High Charity?
Mm-hmm.
They consumed all the souls there. Now they've gained all the knowledge of how to operate High Charity. They make their way onto the Ark. So
High Charity is like a three-way war, basically, between the brutes, the elites, and the Flood, is what I'm imagining.
Yep.
Yes, oh my god.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's it. Fly into the sun. Fly into the sun.
So in Halo 3, Arbiter and the Chief activate this new Halo, wipe out the Flood. The Covenant are dealt with. And like you beat the Covenant, like you officially beat the Covenant like halfway through the game, where you're invading what's called the Citadel, which is like the command center for the entire Halo array. The last prophet left, Truth. He has taken a couple of humans captive, because humans, as designated as reclaimers by the Forerunners, only they can actually use Forerunner technology properly. And so
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So Truth has two humans captive, and he's trying to get them to activate the Halo.
Only humans can use it to its full potential. Wow.
Only humans can use Forerunner technology to its full potential. So you're fighting through the Citadel, and you get there, and a badass line by the Arbiter. Truth is he's lost his damn mind by this point. He's just like, screaming, I'm the voice of the Covenant, and we're here to ascend to godhood. All the rest of you will be left behind. He's like, I am Truth. I speak in the voice of the Covenant. Arbiter grabs him by the neck, squeezes, and goes, and so you must be silenced. Takes his energy sword and just rams it through his back.
So cool.
Such a
also, I love the irony that Truth was lying the entire time.
Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the game is basically you fighting off the Flood, activating the Halo. That Halo gets destroyed. A big part of the Ark gets damaged, and the Flood is taken care of. So you're given one ship that Master Chief and the Arbiter board when they're trying to escape, because there's a big escape sequence or whatnot. The Halo that fires, it's not complete. So all the energy that goes into firing the Halo array is still too powerful for the incomplete ring to form. So it's like trying to fire off the second Death Star, but it's not stable enough to be used at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, big escape sequence or whatnot. They escape onto a human ship, and it's jumping through a slip space portal, or the warp tear equivalent or whatnot. And the ship gets cut in half. Arbiter is on the front half, and that portal leads back to Earth, where he crash lands. But then Master Chief's half of the ship is just floating out in space. So
that would suck.
Oh yeah. So then there's a commemoration ceremony for the war is finally over after 30 some odd years. Human and elites, they've had their issues, but this is hopefully a chance to try to make amends or go down a better path. And that is basically the Halo trilogy. They all go off, do their own separate things. The elites still have brutes to fight. The rest of the Covenant's to kind of fend off. But for the most part, the Covenant is fractured. And when you get to Halos 4, 5, and Infinite, they're different. To put it in 40K terms, war bands that you can, that you fight in Infinite and Halo Wars 2. There is a faction called the Banished, but we're not going to get into that at this point. So there's different basically the Covenant splinters, and there's still a good handful of elites that, just for whatever reason hate the humans. So they will still go to war with the humans, but on the whole, the Arbiter becomes more like the spokesperson for his people, and he is doing his best to try and unify his species and the humans to, lead towards a better future. And overall, that is pretty much the main, as far as the main Halo trilogy, that is the story of the elites.
That's pretty badass.
That's really fucking awesome, honestly.
You understand why I simp for the elites now?
No,
he's the man that always
if I'm reading this lore, dude, Spartans and elites are probably going to be my main thing. I can already sense Spartans are kind of right up my alley.
Oh, Spartans are awesome. Don't get me wrong. And there actually was an attempt to make a Halo tabletop game with some minis in mind of elites and Spartans and other Covenant races.
Did it not launch well? I was wondering that.
It did not.
No, it did not.
Oh, man.
It had one box set. The miniatures were metal, and I think they were an 8mm scale.
That would have been cool. I was thinking my wallet could, cry out for help in another manner.
Back to the 40K plastic it is.
Back to that it is. I guess I'll just buy an Xbox.
Yep. And play the Halo trilogy.
Excellent.
Poor me.
Or quadrilogy. If you're a fucking actual G.
Yes.
If I'm a real fan, bro. If you actually bench 405, you play 04.
Oh yeah. Well, and the cool thing is, like, back in 2014, they released the Master Chief Collection, which was a remaster of Halo 1, a remaster of Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 4.
Sick.
Yeah, and over the years, they actually got to where you could, I think, purchase Halo 3 ODST, which doesn't involve Master Chief or whatnot, but you can get that, and you can and Halo Reach now comes with it too.
Ooh, that's
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other questions? Because this has been a very long episode.
Oh yeah,
we got derailed at a few points.
Okay, it was fun.
Yes.
Thank you. I know I did very well with the derailings.
as guests do, but we love it. This is what makes Grimlore a lot of fun, is just all the little derailing we get into from time to time.
This was honestly, as questions go, you laid out everything really well. My only question is, like, when's the next Halo episode, and am I allowed back on?
Yes and yes.
Wonderful.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Made it.
We'll get to it when we get to it, in the words of Ray. So before we do end off, I would like to send a huge thank you to Shark and Brody here for joining us on this lovely journey as I gush over one of my favorite factions in video gaming history.
Ooh.
Oh, it was delightful to be here, man.
It was. Can I bring something up at the very end?
Sure.
So the reason Rayway wanted to have me on is because I wrote a Horus Heresy Halo themed army list for all the factions. I am I know the episodes take a while to get out. If anyone's interested in the Discord, I will be fully finished with the Rites of Wars and Warlord traits by the end of that.
Get to work on that, and when we release this episode, we will, we'll let you know when you can post all that. Because, like, we record on a weekly basis, but we don't release but every other week. So it's going to be a few weeks before this gets released.
Yep.
Although, of course, we plan to make it a weekly thing when we reach high enough tier on Patreon.
And speaking of Patreon, let's thank our following patrons: the wonderful Noble Slappy, the Honorable Knight Sir Flub de Montfort, and the Honorable Knight Astronautical. Thank you guys very much for your patronage, and thank you to all the other patrons and all the members of our Discord for making this wonderful community possible. It's just, wow. This is just awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's really fun, and I'm finally getting active in the Discord like I've wanted to for quite some time. And it's just such a great community.
Sometimes you just need the right push.
Oh, for sure. I've also been busy as hell, you know what I mean? But I'm so glad I could finally have some time to get active on her.
Good.
The memes are the best part. The memes and the arguments are the best part.
So many memes.
Absolutely.
You mind if I ask our little guest something?
Go ahead.
Okay, so for Shark
sure.
and Brody, so I know Brody, you picked Empire for our Discord, right? For our Discord flare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a
Yes,
particular reason you chose Empire?
The Empire of Man.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. When it comes to like my loyalties of who I ultimately choose at the end of the day, I'm kind of basic. I choose my people.
Can you respect that?
And I'm straight loyal like that.
That's fair. That makes sense.
So Hail Sigmar, baby. That's me.
Good man. Good man.
I too like big hammers.
How about you, Shark? I don't think you got one.
Q plus.
Yeah, I tried to pick one, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. But I would have picked Lizardman.
That's okay. I can do that manually.
Yes.
The Lizardmen are bad.
They
I'm like
are
that guy that looks at the Xenos from afar, and I'm like, oh, those are cool, but but cool.
Yeah. I'm that guy who starts out with the humans and then it's like, some of the other factions are kind of cool.
I think I hate humans.
Yeah. It's almost like playing the humans is a little boring.
One thing I gotta say though is that like I'm the perfect GW victim because every single model range I'm like, yeah, one of each. Just give it to me.
Don't even get me started. I'm in every game system, and once Old World comes out, I'm back in. Don't even.
Yeah. I love them all. You know what I mean? Like I choose humans as my base. You know what I mean? Like lore wise, but looks and everything, all of them. So.
I love that Mesoamerican, like Aztec Mayan inspiration for the Lizardmen. That's
oh yeah, 1000%.
Definitely one of my favorites.
It's
the
beautiful.
Lasers also help.
The lasers, the dinosaurs help too. To be honest,
dinosaurs with fucking laser beams on their heads.
What? Yeah, it's just glorious to have a T-Rex charge into your enemy's lines and eat them.
With giant freaking laser beams.
I want Triceratops with laser beams on their forehead.
Is that how the dinosaur? Look at my laser beams, dude! Like it just charges it forward.
Isn't that fucking meme where it's just like, oh look, Triceratops, this is a shooting star. Make a wish. I wish I was fucking dead. Oh, don't make that joke. That's not that funny. Hey, Triceratops, is that star getting closer?
Is the moon getting closer, or is it just me?
Is it just me, or is it getting warmer, guys? That's really weird.
It'd be nice to at least know it's getting warmer.
Well, dear listeners, if you like hearing us nerds gush over all this kind of stuff, just click the link in our description to our Patreon page, donate $1 or more, depending on how generous you're feeling, and you too can join in on the discussion in the Discord and just overall nerding out.
So you can have fun in our community that we're building every single day.
Oh yeah, there's always somebody to nerd out with in there.
I see that you're also posting a lot of art and minis and stuff.
Indeed.
Always willing to see some of the minis.
Through those chats.
Well, Ray, I got one question for you before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
How do I get my body back?
Well, while you've been talking and we've been steadily drifting away from this Halo ring, I noticed a portal starting to open at the far end of the solar system. It doesn't look like a slipspace portal. It looks pretty purple and full of Vudge's horrors. So I decided to go full throttle in. That cool?
Sounds good with me. As long as I get my body back and back to the tavern where all my tankards of ale are. I miss my ale. I'm thirsty.
Thirsty dwarf.
Very thirsty dwarf.
But that will conclude our episode for this week. I hope everyone had fun.
Oh yeah,
I certainly did.
Thanks again to our wonderful guests for joining us on a very long episode. But this is great.
Always down to do this again.
And be sure to comment if you liked my narration and takeover of this episode. And if so, if this tracks, I will be happy to take over again someday in the future.
Of course. Of course. Hang on, I have a question.
I have an answer.
You're the guy in charge of Halo. Do Halo ships have Giller fields?
They do not. Unlike 40K, where you're basically traveling through hell, slip space is just a dimension that compresses everything around you. You do not have to worry about any kind of negative effects other than if your slip space drive goes haywire, you're just lost.
Okay.
There's nothing to say what exactly happens to you other than you're just lost in slip space.
Yeah.
Rip.
So yeah.
So,
Pepperonis, my dudes.
so it wouldn't be safe then to continue to drive the ship directly into the warp.
Oh shit. No, turn around.